Hello there, hello there, hello there. Welcome back to the Agostino Zinga Show with your host, Agostino Zinga, and this is episode number 902. That is 902 of the Agostino Zinga Show, coming at you live and direct from the undisclosed location, somewhere in the depths of East London. How you doing? How you feeling, ladies and gentlemen? Great, good to know, good to know. How am I? All good, all things considered, I cannot complain. Today is day 2 of my 31-day marathon on this particular channel, the Agostino Zinga Show, where I aim to stream for 31 days consecutively, starting from yesterday and also from today. So I'm day 2 of my 31-day marathon. If you want to support the 30-day one marathon, become a member of this channel. Membership start at 0.99p and also 4.99. The link is down below in the description. Click the member button. Click the member link, actually become a member, and you can get all the information there in terms of perks, emojis, and all that malarkey, so exclusive content you can dive into on the Agostino Zinga Show channel. I'm also doing on a random show channel, where you can also check that out on my main page. If you go there, you'll see the Agostino Zinga Show channel there at the top for you to click on. But this is day 2 of my 31-day marathon stream for all of you podcast streamers, podcasting, video, YouTube, whatever else listeners are out there. You're in for a barnstormer. You're in for a barnstormer. Anyway, plugs away, plugs aside, plugs done. Let's move into the show. Number 1 cultural commentary podcast in the world. Thank you for joining me. Strap in, strap on. I've just devoured a nice little cup of super malt drink here. So we're going to get right into the show. Let's get into the show. First thing I want to talk about, first thing I want to mention out of the blue is this. Now, this topic has kind of been, it's kind of been run dry already. It's a bit old news, but I stumbled across this clip and it just got me thinking in general about this issue that I've sort of noticed nowadays. So this is pertaining to the Math Hoffa podcast fallout. If you don't know, Math Hoffa, this battle rapper, legendary battle rapper from back in the day, who then transitioned into being a podcast host, had this pretty good podcast that he was running out of a barbershop. It was, in a barbershop setting. It kind of had the barbershop feel, and you had different types of guests in there, from artists to, local fucking community leaders and whatever else they may be, talking about the old times, talking about the future, talking about society, blah, 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 blah. And I really enjoyed it for the most part, because I thought, I think the setting itself allowed it to be a little bit more of a no holds barred, say what you feel, don't worry about pissing people off, don't worry about upsetting people's feelings type of affair. And I think the guests as well were a bit different from the other pods. The other pods would get, maybe it would be a bit of a stop off for like a promo if you're dropping an album. But I felt as if Math Hoffa's podcast at the time was more so a collection of different people, from like New York legends to cultural legends, political figures, societal society icons and shit, community leaders, all this sort of stuff. And I think they did well with it. And one of the best parts about Math Hoffa's podcast in the past, when it started at least, were the co-hosts. I thought the co-hosts also contributed a lot to the show. If anything, Math Hoffa might have been the weakest part of the show in terms of his questions, in terms of his research, in terms of how he just spoke in general. He wasn't the main draw of the show. It was actually, the show was greater than the sum of its parts, if that makes any sense. Well, as per usual, when it comes to urban-based black hip-hop podcast, it fell by the wayside. A lot of the people kind of ended up falling out of each other, mainly with Math Hoffa. And in the beginning, it kind of seemed like the guys who fell out with Math were the ones who were in the wrong, because they were sort of the first to go. But then over time, as more and more people started to fall out with him, you start to think to yourself, hold on, if everyone keeps falling out with you and you're the only person left, surely at some point you have to look in the mirror and think maybe you're the problem. But with Math Hoffa, that didn't really kind of resonate. It all came to a head on the internet when, out of the blue, Math Hoffa kind of revealed online that his landlord had decided to turn off the power in his barbershop, and he couldn't record the streams anymore. And that's when we basically found out on the internet that Math Hoffa didn't really own the barbershop. It wasn't an actual functioning barbershop. They used it as a studio to record their pod. And if I'm not mistaken, the actual law behind it was that the landlord who owns the barbershop was upset that Math Hoffa wasn't using the barbershop during the day to cut hair and only using it at night to do the haircut, to do the podcast. And then when they did the podcast, they would make a lot of noise and shit, and the neighbors would complain. So I guess the landlord, in a roundabout way, was kind of pushing him in the direction of, hey, please use the barbershop during the day to make this whole arrangement worthwhile. For some reason, Math didn't do that. The business wasn't correct, whatever the reason was, because allegedly he was paying some other person who was then paying the landlord. So, you know, some fugazi stuff happened. In the end, bills weren't paid, the lights were turned off, the power was turned off, and now he doesn't do it anymore there. And now Math has just turned into like a reaction streamer, content creator person on YouTube now. So it's been kind of sad to see. But the really illuminating and eye-opening thing for me and confusing thing has been this clip that I saw on social where two of the former co-hosts of Math Hoffa's podcast sit down and basically detail that at one point Math Hoffa was getting over $200,000 per month from YouTube AdSense alone, yet somehow he wasn't paying his co-host. And I want to understand, I'm trying to figure in my brain, why is this so common within black urban podcasts? Like, why is it so common for people to not pay their friends, to not pay their co-host, to not pay their staff, to not pay people who are helping the success of the show? Why are so many people in this space so greedy and so resistant to paying people for their time and making everything seem like it's okay to do it for free? It's okay to do it just on a vibe. Like, what is the problem? Because this is also something that happened in the Joe Budden podcast, and that ended up falling, you know, when they ended up falling out with the Muri and Mo and shit and other pods. I've kind of noticed a pattern with urban-based podcasts where, for whatever reason, if you're not the main star, if you're not the main person on the show, you're just fighting for scraps, and you have to really fight for it. Like, the person who runs the show doesn't go out their way to help you, or doesn't go out their way to kind of, you know, to hold you down, or to make sure you're all right, and to make sure you don't even have to ask in that regard. I don't know why it's like this, but this is Esso, from formerly of Math Hoffa's podcast, talking about how much Math used to earn and his reluctance to give the guys their equal share.
It is, Gully, nobody was getting paid, okay? Then let's talk about that. Niggas wasn't getting paid, and I'm gonna say this, nobody was getting paid except Space Ghost. That's it. All right? When I was the first thing that niggas knew they had to pay. Niggas had to pay me, nigga. Yeah. And I was calling him saying, yo, niggas gonna pay me. So you gonna tell them to pay you, or I'm gonna just take my money and I'm gonna split it with you because we a team. Right. But when you speak to this nigga, you tell this nigga he got to pay you.
And I don't know about you, maybe because I put too much value on that word friend or whatever. But I think if you're working with your boys, if you're working with your hammies, as Duno would say, surely one of the perks of it is that you get to pay your friends. Like, one of the greatest things I remember doing when I was coming up in the scene, when I was running my own nights, was the feeling of paying your friends. That was so cool. When you pay your friends to make a flyer, you pay your friends to DJ at a party we're doing, you might pay your friend to do the door for you. That was such a good feeling, to have some money and put some money in your friends' pockets. Because, you know, you knew how hard this hustle was in this creative field. And if you could give them a little £10, a little £50, a little £100 here and there, you felt really good about it. And also you got to kind of, hire them for their skills, hire them for something that they want to do professionally, maybe in the future some way, especially in terms of their dream job. And I also think if that's your friend, if that was me, if that's your friend, I don't feel like you should put them in a position where they have to ask you, where they have to kind of pull you to one side and have some sort of meeting. You know, you should already be approaching them with an offer of like, hey, thank you for holding me down in the beginning while I was working on this and was grinding. Now we're in a position where things are going well. I want to kind of reciprocate that and kind of show you how much I kind of love your support and stuff. And obviously make sure that you're here to help out in general going forward. So I want to work out some sort of compensation pack, some sort of payment structure, whatever it may be. So you go to them. I think the feeling, it must feel so shitty if that's your friend, so someone you've been holding down, working down from the beginning, and you have to kind of go to them to request the money, you know? Really, they should be coming to you. It's good if you do it anyway because you get the money sorted in one way or the other, but it must feel really shitty to be an integral part of the show and to have to like beg and plead for some level of, pay to kind of, illustrate how much you mean to the show or whatever else it may be. It's kind of fucked up. I'm not gonna lie.
Nigga, once I got paid, once I had to get paid, everybody else got paid. That's the hatred.
How long into the show was people not being compensated.
All the whole time, nigga.
Wow.
Nobody got paid but me first, nigga.
How the fuck did that work out?
because niggas didn't know that niggas was getting money, but I knew because I was getting paid from my other YouTube show that wasn't even getting the hits he was getting.
Yeah.
And they
So that's the really crazy part, right? That's the really, when you think about it, like it makes you think why people take, when I hear these sort of stories, I guess for me, let me just rewind. For me, the issue here is that I'm always whenever I think of these stories, whenever I hear these stories, the first thing that comes to mind is that, isn't this a shame? Because a lot of these people that are the host of these popular urban black podcasts, from my knowledge, are people who have come from the music industry, or people who had aspirations of being in the music industry, or being an artist, or being a manager, whatever. It didn't work out, right? So the next best thing is to be able to commentate on this thing, right? It's kind of like me, right? I don't have a brand, I'd love to have a brand. I don't have a store. I don't have a club. I don't professionally DJ, but the best thing to do, apart from that, is to just sit on the sidelines and commentate on the shit that I see online about those topics that I kind of am interested in. So that's the next best thing. You don't get to be on stage. You unfortunately can't be fucking, what's its face? You can't be Drake's manager, but at least you can talk about the new albums. You can pontificate about people's relationships here and there, get some hits, make some money, and kind of feed your family. So that's kind of cool. And you also get to avoid all the shenanigans, all the fugazi business, all the skullduggery, all the scumbaggery that's involved in the music business, right? But when I see things like this, or when I hear sentences like that, it makes me think, this is why those music executives get away with murder. This is why they take advantage of people so much, because people don't know. So unless you had a YouTube channel yourself, because think about it, right? Like the regular guy from the hood, the regular guy from ends, who maybe is, of these guys' age, maybe a bit older, what would he know about Google AdSense? What would he know about getting paid from YouTube? He wouldn't probably know much about it. He'd probably think it all comes from, I don't know. He wouldn't have any understanding of it unless he's got his own channel. So then you jump on this show, which with Math Hoffa, you're one of the co-hosts for it. You're doing well because you're on it and it's getting views and stuff. People are recognizing you, but you have no concept of how those clips that you're involved in generate income for the person that owns the channel. So you're in no position to even bargain because you don't have the information, So a lot of this shit, a lot of this scamming is kind of done because the people don't have the information. But once they have the information, you can't fool them again. But they don't have the information in the beginning, so you can kind of lie, which is also kind of crazy, to be honest. To do that to your friends, to do that to people that look like you, to kind of go out of your way not to tell the truth about how much you're making, or to be transparent about where the money's coming from, what the expenses are. That's kind of scumbaggery, I'm not gonna lie. So it's fortunate that Esso had his own channel, so he could kind of, think, okay, if I'm getting this amount for this views, he must be getting this amount for that views. And it's also funny that he probably never saw the back end anyway, It's a common thing you see with all these guys. They never get to see the back end. But then the person that owns a pod is always quick to complain when the streaming platforms are given the back end, Joe Budden being a good example. Joe Budden refused to give Rory and Mo a detailed accounting that they were asking for, because they thought Joe Budden was stealing from them or not giving them what they were owed. But then when Spotify, when Joe signed the podcast to Spotify, the thing that he complained about the most was the lack of insight he was getting in the back end about how well the pod was doing on their platform, so he could, negotiate from a strong position. Funny that.
They were paying me already. Yeah. So when a girl, I'm going to say it, Mandy from Mandy Folklore Pumps called me when I was on set, and she didn't know me, and she asked me some number, and she said, I want to start a show with you, and I'm going to pay you. And I was like, pay me? And I showed it to Heineken. This started everything. We was on set. I said, look, Heineken. And Heineken didn't play it cool. He's like, oh, word? Oh, word? Oh, word? Oh, God. And Math was like, what is that? And Heineken was like, look, they trying to pay him.
Yeah.
And all my...
That's crazy. All it takes is one person to show you the analytics on the back end and to show you how much money these pods actually make, for you to suddenly finally realize that, hey, your guy is scumming you. Your guy is doing you dirty. It shouldn't have to get this way. You shouldn't have to get information from other people. Your friend should be able to kind of hold you down, or to kind of act, come to you and basically let you know, hey, this is what I think of your contribution, and you can kind of negotiate from that position. But this is absolutely insane.
On way to go meet her, he called me.
That was your first time seeing the analytical page?
No, he didn't see it yet.
I didn't see it at the time.
He didn't see it till after the nigga wasn't paying us, nigga. How about that?
You didn't know about that?
He showed it. He let him see it on some cocky shit. Like,
But he didn't, my mind, and I looked at him like this.
let me tell you
and I
something.
called them niggas.
After this, I'm not even saying nothing else.
Right.
His biggest mistake.
The whole analytical thing.
Listen,
was
the whole
he gonna
analytical thing. This is the most ironic part of the whole shit. Everybody was now worried about the money he was making. And they was coming to me because I was the first nigga getting paid. I was like, I don't care how much money he's making. We have a deal with him.
Yo, big up Cases Moses in the chat. I really think Matt spent his generational wealth on Avirex jackets and fur coats. I don't even mind, bro. I don't even mind. It's hilarious. I don't care. Spend all your money on fucking Nike boots, fucking Avirexes, Timberland boots, whatever. Just pay people, man. It's not difficult. Just pay people. Like, what's so hard about paying people? Especially in the podcasting world where over time, because you work together so long in content creation, yes, you may be just co-hosts and colleagues, but over time you become friends. You become quite close to these people. You know their families, you know their kids, you know their partners, their wives, their girlfriends and shit. Like, help them out, man. Like, do you know what I mean? Why do they have to come to you begging and pleading? Why should they come to you on their hands and knees asking for money when you're already making 200,000 a month allegedly? Like, I don't know, man. And plus, I remember when I was doing my parties and organizing my raves, part of the thing as well of paying somebody was that it kind of gave you a reason. It kind of gave you a place to say, hey, you have to be here at this time, you know? I don't know if that makes sense, but I would feel terrible. Like, I would feel like I have no right to demand anybody to be anywhere at any time for me if I'm not paying for their time. But if you pay for their time, you can say, hey, could you be at the club at this time? Could you make sure you're here for sound check? Could you make sure this? Could you make sure that? You can do that because you're paying them. But if you're not paying them, what right do you have to demand them to be somewhere at some time? It makes no sense. But these guys do. And imagine you're getting your hair braided, you're getting a haircut, you have to put on a fly outfit, you have to buy some chains, a hat, a this, a that. It's all expenses. Like, maybe your transport back and forth home, wherever you have to eat that day. Like, and you're not paying your friends, you're not paying your colleagues, you're not paying your co-hosts. Even if you're just doing it on some like greeting, which I also think makes sense. Imagine you just pay your friend just on some greeting because you want to continue making 200 grand per month. That's a good thing too. You pay them so that they can continue performing or giving crazy hot takes on your pod. Then that will lead to more views. That will lead to more money in your account. Why not? This whole hoarding the wealth all for yourself thing is so bizarre, especially on a show where essentially the basis of that show, Math Hoffa's podcast, was that it was like everybody contributed to the success of it. It wasn't just about one person. It was in a fucking barbershop. If you've ever been to a barbershop, you know part of the fun of hanging in a barbershop is all the random conversations you're having with different barbers. Even when you're in a chair, you might be having a conversation with all 4 of the barbers that are in that shop, plus whoever's sitting waiting, plus whoever's in the seat themselves. So it's not only about one person. So for that one person who kind of owns a show to think it's all about them is kind of crazy.
Supposed to pay us this. As long as he pays me my money, I don't care. Why? Because Gully, I'm not a content nigga. Yeah. I said I'm gonna take this money and I'm gonna go put this with my other money and with my other money and with my other money, and this is gravy. I'm selling capsules right on the platform. Yeah. So I'm selling clothing capsules and selling.
We know what he's talking about. We know what he's talking about, putting money in other money. We know exactly what he's talking about. Big up Esso, but you're speaking a bit too much, brother. You're speaking a bit too much, but I know what you're speaking about.
Selling 200 pieces in a week, $200. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? I'm gravy, right? So I'm making the money, I'm chilling, and for some reason he takes this nigga out with him, right? Mm-hmm. Takes this nigga, he owes us all money at this time. Yeah. Everybody he owes money. He chooses to take a Haitian shopping, okay? And to show a Haitian nigga, look at all the money that I'm making. He would have been better off showing me because I was like, I don't give a fuck if you're making.
That's kind of wild, isn't it? That shows a lack of that shows a real lack of self-awareness. Showing somebody that you're not paying all the money you're making is crazy. But I've seen it happen. It's like when I remember back in the day, there'll be some times where you go out and you go to eat with people and they will go out their way to to order loads of shit, but not get you anything. Not that you're entitled to anything or you should expect anything, but still, they'll be eating it and enjoying it and really kind of having the fun with this shit. And you got nothing. It's like, all right, cool, bro. No worries. I see how this shit is. And that same person is the same person who, when you go to eat something or when you go to order, they're the first person to say, hey, can I try that? Can I get a bit of that? Can I this? Can I that? It's like, bruh, I'm not expecting a handout, but you can't be ordering 17 fucking starters and 8 main courses. And then when I order one little thing, you want to grab a couple fries. You want to grab a couple bits of calamari. You want to have a bite of this. But come on, man. Do me a favor.
$200,000 a month and you owe me $3,000.
Yeah.
Yeah, crazy work. Crazy work.
I don't care because I'm making my money. This nigga was like, oh no, Esso, yo, this nigga's making $212,000. I said, $212,000 what? Dollars a month. I said, what? He said, nigga. I said, I don't care. It's weird. I said, I don't care what he's making. I don't care.
The reason why I cared though, right? It's not about how much. It's that he was finding ways not to pay us.
Payment.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's the thing too I was about to say. I don't think it matters how much he makes. I don't care. I'm not here to pocket watch anybody in how much they make in totality. The issue that I have with these type of things is why does it seem to be that all of these urban-based podcasts seem to have an inability to know how to accurately or even fairly pay people? Or just compensate them flat out. Remember those back on Fig dudes? Those guys who are associated with No Jumper. They had a falling out with No Jumper, which wasn't based on pay, to be honest. To be fair to him, wasn't based on pay. But those guys, AD, T-Rail, Duna, all those guys kind of left No Jumper essentially because of how Adam treated AD and how Adam treated House Phone, kind of, right? They all went off and did their own thing. They all went off and started Fig Community World. They started back on Fig. They started Ace Boys. They started Community. They all started their own little thing. And then after that, after they started their thing, they had another fallout within their own group where people were complaining that they weren't getting paid. And I was thinking to myself, if you're T-Rail and you're inviting people or you got co-hosts on your show, I don't know, MacWop at the time, and he's co-hosting your show, he's one of the third mics. It's basically, T-Rail and Smack, and then MacWop hosting a show originally when it was back on Fig, right? And they're kind of doing well. Regardless of what MacWop's relationship is with the wife, in terms of, I forgot her name again, but whatever his relationship was with the wife and how that was a bit frictious, surely giving MacWop $100 or Keem and those type of people $100, putting $200 in people's pockets every time they come on the show should be nothing really as a fee. And the fact that they had to bring it up, they had to argue about it, it became a topic of conversation on every stream, on every pod, was hella embarrassing, I think, for them. That they left the white man in Adam, who paid everybody, by the way, right? Although he's a piece of shit, and he's obviously not somebody you want to work with in terms of Adam 22, I never heard people complain and say Adam didn't pay. Adam definitely paid everybody. Everybody on No Jumper got paid. So it was kind of wild to me how these very same people went to do their own shows, but then refused to pay their friends, even $100. What? Or I guess what they paid them in was weed and Ubers and shit. It's nah, man, I need money. I'm a big believer in that. Even if you have a friend who's a landscape gardener, a friend that's a carpenter, a friend that's a chef, a friend that's an electrician, all of that paying people in drinks and food, fuck all that shit. Give me money. Yes, maybe not pay me my rate because I'm your friend and I'm not gonna charge you that much, but give me money. Give me $100. Give me 50, give me money. Money is the answer to all things. I don't need your fucking bottle of wine. I don't need a fucking gift voucher to Amazon. Give me money. Give your friends money. That's what you should be doing, without them asking. Especially if you're gonna use them for their services, skills, or talents.
So I'm sitting there
the ball hog.
You're paying us peanuts you're making what people die to make for a year in 29 days.
Yeah.
So if you take that in 5 months, that's $1 million.
Niggas didn't believe us that he was making 200,000.
But then you're like,
niggas couldn't believe it.
And then you're like,
Niggas,
I can't pay you this month.
Niggas was looking at us like 200,000. What are you talking about? This dumbass nigga saw it, and he.
And again, it doesn't matter if it was 200,000, 200 million. Just give me something, man. Give me something. But to be fair though, the same person that can't give you $10, this is the problem that you're gonna run into though. This is the problem that you're gonna run into. If you're one of those people who kind of likes to work for your friends for free, doesn't mind if your friends ask you for help and you just help them out because you're just a good friend, and you don't, or you're somebody that feels uncomfortable about talking about money, like how I used to be, which I'm not anymore. Something that I've done continuously throughout all my jobs. I've always been very kind of stern and strict about negotiating my salary, because I remember the pain of that one time where I was working as a social media manager at this company, and I don't know how. Yeah, that's how I found out. I went to a pub randomly. So I went to this pub, and then I bumped into a girl who was working at that job before I got it. Right, the girl that was there before me, I didn't even know. It was some random serendipitous sort of thing. Like, I think God put that girl in my way. I started talking to her, and randomly we started talking about a job. And in that conversation, and if you know anything about the UK, you'll know that people in England don't like talking about money. Don't like talking about their salaries. So somehow that topic came up, and she basically said to me, "Yeah, I was making 32,000, but it wasn't enough, so I moved." And I remember sitting there with my fucking Heineken thinking, hold on, you said you made 32K at this job, and I just accepted it for 26. My heart sank. My heart sank. My heart fucking sank at that moment. I was like, hold on, this girl who, you know, lovely girl, don't get me wrong, but she didn't seem like she was that smarter than me. She didn't seem like she had incredibly way more experience than me. But she was making 32,000 at this job, and I accepted it for 26. That's the day that I thought, okay, never again am I doing this. Never kind of having conversations about salary and shit. But the problem I was going to say is that if you don't mention, if you don't put a stop to this sort of behavior, like because these guys didn't tell Math Hoffa to give them $100 when they were first getting started, when the views weren't that high, it's then difficult for that person who wouldn't give you 100 to give you 1,000. Because 1,000 of 200,000 is nothing, really, if you think about it, in the grand scheme of things. But if he couldn't give you $100, it's unlikely he's going to give you 1,000. So if you don't speak up for yourself early, you're not going to get anything later. That's the unfortunate part of it. Because people are then, you know, have their habits. You're maybe used to working for free. They're used to not paying you. It's going to be very difficult.
He gonna let this nigga see it and call me. And I'm the one calming him down. This is crazy shit. Yo, calm down, bro. Calm down. Nah, bro. I seen it, bro. Yo, bro.
Yeah.
As long as he pay us, yo, bro.
He stopped paying us.
Heineken. I said, we got an agreement. As long as he pay us. So instead of paying Heineken his money, he takes him shopping, buys him Jordans and clothes and all that shit. You know what he's trying to do? He's trying to turn him against me. So, you know, I said, yo, I'm cool. So I said, if Heineken is this fucking dumb to go against a nigga that's going to make sure he gets paid for a nigga who's not paying you and buying you clothes, I said, he's treating you like a cold stone bitch. Yeah. That's what he's doing. You know what they do with they bitches? I'm not giving you money, bitch, because you're going to go spend it on a nigga you really like, bitch.
But if niggas know, no matter what you do, if you're not going to give a nigga money, but you're going to give him gifts, a nigga going to know this is bullshit. So I'm sitting there like,
I know that niggas, content niggas.
No, but let me ask you something. Did that shit work though?
It worked on many other niggas.
No.
Okay, so you get a gist of things, and I don't know. I mentioned big up my guy. Who said this in the stream chat? Big up. A bit Young Advice. Welcome Young Advice. Welcome Thomas Hoeing. Welcome God's favorite. Yeah, big up God's favorite. Big up Black American to the stream chat. Kato Moses, I see you. Elmi, I see you. Wagwan. Wingus Dingus, Wagwan, GG. Big up everyone in the stream chat. But big up my guy, God's favorite. Not trying to be that guy, but why is it always when it comes to the cultures, quote unquote, podcast, blacks basically saying, is it always some money BS behind the scenes? Budden, Math, dudes that left no jumper, or maybe they're always the most vocal when the drama happens. And that's what I'm getting at, brother. That's what I'm getting at. What is it about us black people? What is it about us black folks that we do this to each other? Like, because this is just cruel. In my opinion, this is cruelty. This is almost bordering on being evil. When you're making money doing something with your friends, but then you don't bust it down with your friends, that's kind of cruel. Because I think back to the times when I was in ends growing up, when one person, remember those days when one person would have a sandwich or one person have a bag of crisp and you're all busting it down as a group of friends. And then when you're all up, guess what? You're all contributing and helping each other up. Or when someone's down, you're making sure that they're up and all those type of things. Or even when you go on holiday, somebody doesn't have money, you help them out with this. You don't say anything of it. You keep it sly. You don't talk about it too much to everybody else. You kind of keep it to yourself. I mean, like, I love that sort of shit back in the day, but I wonder, maybe that's not the thing. Maybe those same guys, because I remember back in the day, like, you know, sharing a fucking chicken meal with people. You know what I mean? You're busting down the chicken and chips and stuff and you're all eating together. And then later on, if that person gets something too, they kind of pay it back because they knew you helped them out at that one time. But maybe that era, maybe that type of person doesn't exist anymore. Maybe the world that we're living in now is a dog-eat-dog world. You get what you can get out of it. You know what I mean? There is no busting anything down. You try and extract as much value as you can from every situation. If you can fuck somebody over, you fuck them over. You know? Maybe that's why we live in. Which I don't like personally. I don't like that society. I don't like that place that we're in. And I think it's way sadder. I think it's made sadder because podcasting is like the new industrial revolution, especially for black folks, right? I feel like podcasting and content creation has become the new industrial revolution. It's given people who probably had no other way out of escaping the drudgery of like working a 9 to 5, the opportunity to make incredible bits of money or to maybe work on their own schedule, to support their family, to maybe get into spaces they would never be before. Joe Budden being a good example, right? He was a bit of a meaty rapper, career-wise anyway, and suddenly the podcast blows up and now you're in different spaces, you're interviewing certain people who you would have never had access to as an artist, but you have access to them because of the pod, right? And if, in my opinion, if that's how your career's gone, you then owe the people who have allowed you to have that access to those people, who've allowed you to have that lifestyle where you can go to strip clubs every day, where you can drive Ferraris and Rolls Royces and shit. You owe them a bit of payback, you know, because they've helped you achieve your dreams in a way that you probably never thought you would be able to achieve them in. But for some reason, these content creators, podcasters, streamers and shit, especially some of these older, I don't think it's the younger folk. I think some of these older folks, like, they're so greedy. They're so selfish, you know? They don't like to share, and it makes and I don't even like to use the word share because share sounds wafty and gay and shit. I mean, just like pay people, like they're contributing to the success of the show. They're a part of the team. It's not only about you. Like there are some shows where it's all about one person. Maybe my shit being a good example, but most successful shows are based around a group of people. You know, a team of people who are all contributing to the success, whether it's planning, producing, clips, being a fucking talking head, adding bits behind the scenes, whatever it may be. And they should all be compensated so that the show can continue growing. Especially if it was me. If the show is booming, I want to make sure I'm paying these people who are helping it boom because I want it continue to boom, you know? It's pretty simple. But for some reason, people don't want to do that. I don't know why. It's pretty weird to me. It's pretty weird to me. Big up everybody in the stream chat here. Why doesn't anyone have a contract? But again, it doesn't. I don't think you need a contract in these type of things. Yes, it's beneficial, to be honest, but I still think there should be like a common courtesy, decency, just respect amongst each other to be like, yeah, you helped me. Remember when we were recording this out of your fucking cupboard? Remember when we were recording this in your garage? Remember when we were recording this in your spare room? Remember when we were recording this in fucking internet cafes, in gardens, you know, in rinkety studio spaces. Now here, and like I don't know. I just think it's an odd thing. I think it's an odd thing that it seems to be a pattern amongst all these podcasters. And the really sad thing about this is that the Math Hoffa podcast was way stronger than all of these other guys' shows. So even though I love, I like how Esso and Heineken speak. You know, I'm not really gonna check out their pod, Bag Fuel. Maybe if they got a guest on that I like, I might check it out. Math Hoffa's show by himself now, reacting to stuff online. I'm not gonna check out what he's got to say unless something goes viral with it. I don't give a fuck. So the bad thing about the breakups is that they all end up negatively affecting each show. Yes, they're going to do their own thing, but it's made weaker because they were all better together. They were better together, even with the weird dynamic. They were all better together, but now they're separate. It kind of makes the show diluted. It's kind of similar to like Joe Budden and Rory Moore. Yeah, I listen to Rory and More. I love that pod. I still listen to it from time to time, but it doesn't come close to touching what magic they created when Rory and More were on the Joe Budden podcast. But they broke up with, or they left Joe Budden podcast because they felt as if, the accountant wasn't correct and Joe was maybe stealing money or not paying them correctly. And now all shows have been negatively affected. The Joe Budden podcast isn't as good anymore, and the Rory and More podcast isn't as good because it's not with Joe Budden. So if you just would have paid people what they owed, you could have kept the team together, and then the fans, the listeners, get the best type of content. They get the best level of content, It's not that difficult, really, but maybe it is that difficult. Who fucking knows? Big up Esso and Heineken. Moving on, I also want to talk about this as well. I saw this clip, right? And I think this is a legendary clip to talk about because it features the one and only Riccardo Villalobos playing at Caprese Festival in Switzerland. It's incredible because I don't think I've seen a higher number of fucking hugs behind the DJ booth than this particular set here. It's about 2 hours long. It's from the legendary, rave scene documentarian Luca Dia, in the same sort of realm as that Fraud 909, but unfortunately Fraud 909 passed away, I think during COVID, so RIP to him. Legendary rave documentarian as well, but Luca Dia is still out here documenting all of these amazing raves around the world, mostly around like deep house, tech house, minimal, that kind of scene, and mostly around the legends, right? The Riccardo Villaloboses and shit, and all this other malarkey as well in between. So Riccardo Villalobos enters the stage on the left and you'll see him coming. And what's really funny about this entrance is that it reminds you of how he entered when I saw him at Fabric. So when I was at Fabric maybe a couple of years ago, and I saw Riccardo Villalobos playing, and one of the things that stands out about when Riccardo Villalobos arrives is that you can tell he's arriving because there's a whole gaggle of like hangers on, clout shakers, chasers, dick suckers, groupies, managers, team, whatever. There's a whole gaggle of people who are literally behind him, following him like lemmings. Whenever he stops, they stop. Whenever he moves, they move. It's fucking hilarious. And the thing that makes it hilarious is that he's such a energetic, open person, loving, whatever, tactile. He's always stopping every 2 seconds to give someone a hug or to talk to somebody. So they're kind of trying to follow him in, but he's stopping every 2 seconds. So it's hilarious. So watch this clip as he comes in from the left-hand side. It's really funny. There he is. Do you see him? There he is right there. Can you see him? There he is right there. And don't be confused. There's a bunch of people around him wanting to get near so they can follow him in the DJ booth. I guess it's a little bit of a game, a little bit of a hustle. Maybe if you just follow him, if you're not part of the team, you can kind of slip in. I don't know. But it's just hilarious. Keep watching. Ah, fuck's sake. Struggling to get through. So many air hugs, so many kisses. The whistles they come to play. That's real rockstar shit, by the way. Real rockstar shit. I wonder, by the way, I've always wondered, I would love to, if I got ever a chance to interview him, I'd love to know, like, does he actually recognize these people? Does he recognize them, or is he just being nice? I'm not too sure, because there's so many hugs, there's so many kisses, so many fucking little conversations. It's just insane the amount of times people are like, hey. Surely he doesn't remember all of them. He DJs like every fucking day, basically, all around the world. Surely he doesn't remember every single face. By By the way, that must be a good feeling, right? You come on, you come on you appear behind the booth and everybody is going crazy in the crowd as they're seeing you before you even touch the decks. That must be a fucking good feeling. Another hug, obviously, that's with Raresh. Raresh, I'm a bit of a hater of, I'm not going to lie. Great DJ, great producer, but I have a bit of a dislike for Raresh because he has this thing where he essentially copies Riccardo Villalobos' mannerisms. Even his haircut, the way he moves, the way he plays. It's a bit gross, I'm not going to lie. I know Riccardo is really big in Romania. That's where Raresh is from. That whole minimal sound is huge over there. Sunways Festival, RIP. But to copy another man's mannerisms and playing style and everything's a little bit too much for me. Like, he even dances like fucking Riccardo. It's flipping odd behind the booth, but another hug. Another fucking hug. Ooh, there's nothing hits better. Nothing hits better than an MDMA hug. Nothing hits better than an MDMA, ecstasy, other adult multivitamins hug. Nothing hits better. There's no better hug that you receive from a stranger than an MDMA induced or laced hug. Yeah, that's it. And there's no other hug that hits better than an MDA laced hug. Okay? No other hug in the world. Because you feel that shit. It's guttural. You're telling each other how much you love each other, how much you appreciate each other, how happy you are to see that person, the music, the vibes. This is the best time of your life. It's so good. It's so freaking good. The only bad thing about it is that it doesn't last forever. And there's nothing worse than an MDMA crush. MDMA crash, sorry. Crush as well, but a crash. There's nothing worse. That's why I think overall, like, you know, not that my platform matters in anything, you know. I'm a nobody really who gives a shit about what I have to say. But that's why, as much as I go on and on about partying and raving and clubs and stuff, I would really encourage people, especially kids who are coming up, who are, or not even kids, people who are just like not that experienced and just getting into the scene. I'd encourage you to start off doing it sober. Start off going out to parties just because you love to be around people, just because you love to rave, you love to dance, you love to see a DJ. Don't go primarily because of the adult multivitamins, because it can be a hard thing to pull away from. It can be a hard chain to break. Because in my personal opinion, clubs are really fun, but they're made way funner with drugs and shit. But drugs are really bad for you in the long run. They're not good. You shouldn't be doing them at all. And if you do them, you should do them for a short period of time in your life. You shouldn't be something that you do forever and ever and ever. And I think it's really important when you go to a club and you go to a rave to make sure that you're going there just for the sake of going there as a, like, because I've always wondered, why don't people go to raves and clubs the same way people go to gigs? Like, I've been to see a load of bands. I've been to see a load of artists just on a fucking Red Bull. Just on some tap water and shit. And that's perfectly fine. But for every reason, when you go to a club, it's kind of like you get this feeling, maybe it's just, you know, peer pressure, maybe just the vibe, the culture around it, that you have to be in the toilets, you have to be doing bumps, you have to be doing adult vitamins, and you don't have to do that at all. You can experience and get that feeling that I'm talking about, hugging people and being around people. Because one of the things I used to really enjoy was to be in the smoking area. I don't even smoke. I'd have a lighter on me, so if anybody asks for a lighter, I could help them with one and then spark up a conversation that way, pun intended, right? All those things are really fun. You don't need to be high off your head, because in the long run, it's a little bit lame. I'm not going to lie, it's a little bit lame. So as much as I enjoy it, I'm not one to really encourage it. Yo, big up people in the stream chat. Big up Thomas Hoeing. Always when I meet people I work with, be it promoters or DJs, when they see me, they recognize me, and they either either some hours or next day I realize who they are. Okay. Also, next day after, okay, big up Thomas Hoeing, but always act like they are best friend. Okay, cool. To be fair, that's just polite. That's just polite thing. The problem is, I think, with a lot of people, especially fucking DJs, right? They have some of the biggest egos in the world. Honestly, I swear to God, all of my bad, quote unquote, celebrity experiences have come with DJs. Footballers, you know, even actors and stuff, and movie stars or TV stars, movie stars, presenters, influencers on social. I've met a bunch of them and they're always chill. It's the DJs who's the flip of a coin. You're not sure if they're gonna ego you out, they're gonna big time you, they're gonna make you feel like a fucking weirdo and shit for saying hi. I don't know what it is about DJs and their ego that's bizarre, but it helps when you work in the industry. When you work in the industry, you can get a different level of respect and interaction that you maybe won't get if you're just a punter, like how I am, because I don't really try to be involved in the industry side of things. I want to experience everything just as a regular customer because I don't really care about being involved in the behind the scenes shit, right? But I think when you're just a regular customer, they just see you as another fucking face. You know what I mean? They don't really treat you in any kind of respect. But I don't know, man. I don't like that, you know? I don't like that because I know if I bumped into Rihanna, I know Rihanna would give me 5 minutes. I know Rihanna would give me 3 minutes of her time and make me feel like, you know, I'm the only person that mattered in that particular moment, and be really fucking, you know, attentive to my compliments to her and how much I'm a fan of her. Same with ASAP Rocky. Like, I know if I met these people, that's what, and these are the biggest, most popular celebrities you've ever met. I know if I bumped into Drake, he'd be super nice as well. But for some reason, if you bump into a particular DJ, you have no who has fucking 2,000 followers on Instagram, they're gonna act as if they're fucking Nicki Minaj or something. It's weird. The hugs, honestly, maybe I'll go through this like a dork that I am, because I'm an absolute dork. Maybe I'm gonna go through this, maybe on Kick I'll do it, and I'm gonna note down or count the amount of hugs. This might be the world record for hugs behind the DJ booth. It's fucking incredible. But to be honest, to be fair to Riccardo, one of the things I love about him and his ambiance and his fucking legend is that because I'm not a big fan of this shit. I'm not a big fan of people standing in the booth. I hate that. I prescribe to the Berlin Berghain way, where the DJ booth is for DJs. In Berghain, in Panel Bar, no randoms are allowed in the booth. No randoms. Even girlfriends, no one's allowed in there. Only DJs are allowed to stand in the booth. Everyone else stands on the fucking dance floor. That's what it's for. But if you're gonna turn the DJ booth into the quasi VIP area, have fun, man. Party, dance, have a good time. So the one thing I do like about Riccardo's scene and that whole clique of people is that the people in the booth are actually having a good time. They're not just there trying to catch videos or trying to look cool or important and shit, or trying to look down on the people on the dance floor or whatever. They're actually having a good time from what I can see in this clip. But the best bit in this clip comes around 12 minutes. Let me fast forward it. The best bit in this clip comes around 12 minutes, right? Is it 12 minutes? I think it's about 12. Around 12 minutes, my guy Riccardo decides to get down on his knees and change a song, right? He just starts to change a song. He doesn't like what he's playing, so he gets down under the DJ booth and decides to get another bit of vinyl to play. And while he's down there trying to pick a vinyl, he also happens to do some other stuff. But the camera kind of cuts it. The Luca Dia kind of edits it out, so you don't see what's happening, but you can get the gist of what Riccardo's doing. It's fucking legendary. There's Riccardo there in the striped top on the right. There's Riccardo Villalobos right there in the striped top on the right. There he is, touching his hair, moving around. But checking about maybe watch this back again before we see the clip, actually. I'm wondering, because I'm starting to notice a lot of my own things, my own tics and stuff, and I'm starting to notice, like, you know, maybe I do have undiagnosed ADHD because of the amount of times I can't sit still and I'm always moving and stuff. And sometimes when I'm, you know, I'm always kind of moving around, I can kind of look like a nitty. You kind of look like a bit of a crackhead, right? When you're doing all that sort of stuff. But I'm recognizing a lot of my same tics in Riccardo. So I'm wondering, am I a crackhead, or do I have ADHD like Riccardo Villalobos has? Because he's also not stopped moving. He's always like, you know, there's always something going on. His hair is this, is that. What's actually going on here? And there he is. He bends down. Riccardo bends down. He takes a nice little look, a nice courtesy look, just in case there's some Switzerland police officers in the DJ booth about to take him in. Riccardo has a nice little glance to the left there to make sure the coast is clear. I don't know about you, but looking for vinyl, I've never checked my shoulders to look for vinyl. When you're looking for records, you don't really check your shoulders, do you? You usually just get your song. But hey. There he goes, pulls out a little wallet. Ooh, that looked like a fat bag, didn't it? Okay, then he cuts it. Then Lucadia cuts it, of course. That looked like a fat bag. That was a little. That's a professional. That's a party kit. That's a party pack, party kit. Some party tool paraphernalia that he's got in his bag that he flips open, and then Lucadia cuts it, so you don't really see what happens next. But you get the gist. You get the gist there. You get just exactly what's going on. But then it also made me think about, like, my level. My level of DJing has been so low over the years. Hopefully in time, inshallah, it will get higher and I'll be playing on these type of stages. But I don't think I've ever in my entire life of DJing, which is what, like 10 plus years or something, I don't think I've ever done any multivitamins under the table like that on the DJ booth. It's not that serious. Like, I'm not really the biggest fan of this type of behavior. I'm not gonna lie. I'm a big believer in, like, respecting the audience. So I want to give the audience and the crowd a good show. And I'm also talking about, like, from my level of playing, I'm playing in, like, pubs and bars and shit, right? For like £100. And you know, most people there are not really there to hear me play. They're there to get a fucking burger and a beer meal deal sort of shit. So I'm the least of their worries. But in that scenario, I don't ever want people to have, like, a shitty experience. And I know if I start doing adult multivitamins, I'm going to be out of my mind. So I'd much rather wait to do that after my set, which is what I usually typically do. But I might have a drink or two behind the booth and shit. Why not? And usually when you're drinking, when you're playing, because adrenaline's running and you're thinking and you're working, quote unquote, you don't really ever feel drunk or anything. You're kind of drinking it just for liquid sake, which is why sometimes when I would play in these places, I would usually opt for sparkling water with tons of ice and shit in it, just to kind of give you a little bit of the bubbles effect, but obviously just to keep you hydrated. But I don't think I would ever be ready or ever in a position where I'd be comfortable to do any adult multivitamins while I'm playing, because I don't want it to ruin the set. I don't want it to kind of fuck up the ambience, because I know if I did, it would go a bit left. And I remember Joey Diaz saying something as well before when he was doing comedy, which is really true. Like, when you do anything and you're performing on a stage, it kind of dulls your senses. And when you're performing, when you're putting on a show, you kind of have to be sensitive of your environment and the people you're performing for. But how can you do that if you've dulled them by ingesting any sort of, you know, adult multivitamins, aka drugs and shit? So I'm not really the biggest fan of this practice. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not the biggest fan of it. But obviously, Riccardo Villalobos is also a high functioning, you know, person. You know, he's been able to do this for the long period of his career. It's part of what he does. He probably can't function without doing this while he's playing. But if you've seen Riccardo Villalobos play, you'll know that it's definitely heads or tails about whether or not it's gonna be a good set. Like, I've heard stories of Riccardo playing in, like, smaller. It's usually I usually hear these stories from other people secondhand. I'm not sure if they're true or not, but I usually hear these stories from people where Riccardo plays in, like, smaller towns, like he goes to Leeds or something like that. And I've heard of him going there and getting so fucked up that people have to hold him up behind the booth, or he doesn't play at all and somebody else plays instead. Like, he gets so fucked up during the set. But I have heard him play like I did in Fabric. He's a bit sloppy, but you know, it's never so crap. No, so fucks up on crap. But I wouldn't want to ever, you know, run that risk by doing anything. So I'll just leave it to do something at the end of the set, which is also a nice reward. After you finish playing, after you got rid of all the nerves, you put on a good show, people are giving you a high five, they're giving you nice compliments, maybe the promoter said something nice to you, or you just feel good about the set in general. Maybe if you want to treat yourself to something cool, no problem. A little bump ski is all good. But I think doing it during the set is a little bit too much for me personally. Yo, big up Ayu, big up Ayumi Love. Yeah, that excitement from Zinga seeing that fat bag. Hey, bro, we've all been there. That fat bag is for the treats. That's a fat bag from a DJ salary. That's a DJ salary. Like he's getting, I don't know. Let's imagine Riccardo Villalobos gets paid what? 10 grand per set, right? Let's see how much does Riccardo Villalobos pay? How much does Riccardo? Let's see what insert says. Riccardo Villalobos get paid to DJ. Let's see what Google says. Google AI overview, nothing on there available. Riccardo Villalobos agent and booking fee. Let's see here. This is from BNN Music. What does it say here? How to book. Did they have a fee in mind? No money. Riccardo Villalobos when you're 20. I don't know. It doesn't say here, but I'm assuming it's not even a Reddit thing here. Everyone makes fun of Villalobos, but this is a gen. Okay, cool. I don't know. Let's say he gets paid 10 grand per set. That's where that's a 10 grand budget. You know what I mean? That's a 10 grand budget. The only bummer about playing at that level is that you get paid via invoice. That's the only thing that's a bummer. So when I do eventually make it to the levels of playing that professional level, that's the only things I'll be annoyed by. Maybe if you're big enough, you can request them to pay you in cash, but that's a really annoying thing. You have to always invoice shit, and if you know anything about invoicing for stuff like this or companies in general, it always takes an age. And the annoying thing about invoicing for payment is usually it takes so long that when the money does eventually come in, you're having to pay off so many debts and bills that you end up running through all that money quicker than if you got paid on time, you know? So even though you might get paid 10 grand per set, maybe all the money comes in one chunk at one point, but then you run through it way more if you got paid 10 grand after a set. But when you do get it, you can definitely go crazy with adult vitamins. Always touching his nose. I love Riccardo. Okay, wow, I got this thread. There's a thread on the techno subreddit that says the only thing that comes to mind is the gig at festival in Britain where he obviously was under the influence of whatever. Rumors that he's a dick for cashing in 50 grand. So this is 3 years ago. Somebody 3 years ago on the Reddit said that Riccardo Villalobos gets paid 50 grand to perform per set. So you know that multivitamin bag is fat. He doesn't wear designer. He doesn't look like he gets a haircut. He doesn't look like he dyes his hair. It doesn't look like he looks after his skin or anything. It doesn't look like he drives Lamborghinis or Bentleys and stuff. All his money probably gets spent on private jets and on fucking fat bags of gear. Big up fucking Riccardo Villalobos. He's a legend. love the cheers he's getting as well, by the way. I'm gonna skip forward a little bit, but that's basically what I want to talk about with this one. The only annoying thing about the Riccardo Villalobos situation, actually, let me just skip a little bit ahead. Let's skip ahead maybe where is it? Let me skip ahead here. Let's see what happens here randomly. 1 hour in. More hugs. You see what I mean about Rarish? You see what I mean about Rarish? Even his little mannerisms, even how he puts his hat, like, he's exactly like Riccardo. It's so gross and gay. Like, get your own personality, bro. Like, ugh. Imagine just sucking up another man like that where you start acting like him and moving like him. Weirdo. What's that? Another gear? I don't know. Like, even this mix alone is so fucking good. Just this mix alone, just this transition, this blend alone is so fucking good. But he probably has no idea what he's doing. He's probably not going to be able to replicate this ever again. But this transition is so fucking good. Or this blend, sorry, is so good. Hey! Legend. Legend. So good. More hugs, more hugs, more handshakes, more kisses, more. Okay, so just to end this section, the only bummer about the Riccardo Villalobos situation for me was seeing him in person, up front. Because I had the privilege, I had the luck, I had the, whatever else it may be, to be in the Fabric Green Room one time, and seeing him up close and personal was different. I'm not gonna lie, it didn't hit the same. Like, I fell in love with this guy from years ago while watching clips of him on YouTube, performing all around the world, playing and being this fucking DJ rockstar guy. At the same time, I kind of found DJ Harvey, so my introduction to DJ was pretty decent. My two people that I've kind of got introduced to were like DJ Harvey and fucking Riccardo Villalobos, and then soon after that, I think, like, what you call it, what's his name, Seth Troxer and all those type of dudes. But those were my two sort of like heroes first off. But seeing Riccardo up front in person was kind of tough, I'm not gonna lie, because he looks a lot older in person. He looks way rougher, and he looks more of a nitty in person too. Like, if you saw Riccardo Villalobos in person, you'd have no idea he's a DJ. you'd think he's a fucking homeless person or a crackhead or something. Like he like, God bless the guy. With all due respect, I love him. He's my guy. Always gonna look up to him. But he looks rough in person. Like, so as good as and fun as this lifestyle may be, as good and fun as it may be to be on it and to be like going as hard as he does, still in his old age, it does come with some consequences. Because when you see him in person, he looks rough. And I don't know if I would be okay with looking and acting that way in my old age, you know? I'm not even too sure if you should be like DJing at that old anyway. Do you know what I mean? I think there's a part of me that's like, maybe find something else to do. Maybe open a club. You know what I mean? Maybe start an agency or something. But I think if you're a DJ at that age, right? If you're a DJ at this, oh shit, there's the guy, there's Atta. Atta is one of the founders of Robert Johnson, isn't it? Right? Yeah, he's the founder of the famous club in Frankfurt, Robert Johnson. And I think they've also got a label too. They released that book back in the day. They do really cool posters and shit. But that's, I think, Atta from Robert Johnson there in the back. They're taking pictures in the booth. So this is all fun. It looks like a great time. You're with fucking groupies and shit. You're with fucking friends, colleagues, people, icons in the industry. You're having a fucking great time. And you're always getting on it. You know what I mean? And you're making a fat salary. And you're fucking, you know, having the greatest time around the world. But there comes a time as well, depending on your age, you know, where like you kind of have to rein it in a little bit. Clean it up a little bit. Chic it up a little bit, you know? Like, if it's me and I'm Riccardo and I'm behind the booth at his age, Riccardo might be like, what, 50 maybe? I don't want to, and I think that's also Carl, the guy from Fabric as well is there, isn't it? I forgot his fucking name. Apologies, I forgot your name. Carl Craig, I forgot his name. But there comes a point where you want to be a little bit more together. You want to be a little bit more, you know, you want to maybe upgrade. You want to level up your appearance, level up what you do and shit. So I don't think I'd be okay with living that life all the way until then. But there's also a part of me that's like, the reason why this guy's special is because he's one of a kind. And it's kind of cool to see somebody living that lifestyle the way he's doing it unapologetically, with no exceptions, you know? Really only living for the good times, only living to get on it, only living to play and do whatever. It's kind of cool. So I can maybe live vicariously through him from afar, but I don't need to copy that play by play, you know? Because number one, I'm probably not built for it, because he's probably what, in his 50s maybe, and he's still going the way he's going, and he doesn't look like he's slowing down anytime soon. So he just maybe is built different, which is okay too. But damn, bro, when you see him up close, when you see him in person, when you see Riccardo in real life, anyone that knows, has been around, you know, because I got to see him in a green room, because it legitimately, I think when I was there at Fabric, he must have been playing, and I swear to God, he must have purposely played like a track that was like 11 minutes long or 12. And then because I think I left before he played the track, but then 2 minutes later, he came into the green room where I was at. And in the Fabric green room, there's like another bit around the back. Like, if you know, you know, innit? There's like a green room, and there's another bit around the back where people actually go. And I remember sitting there because I was doing my thing, and he walked in, and it was funny when he walked in, because he did that thing that we've all done when we're on it, and you see someone you don't recognize, like you look at them like they're a fed. So when he turned the corner, he looks at me like I was a fed. Like I was like, relax, bro. Like I'm not undercover. Don't worry. Like, and then when he walked in, like 17 other people followed him, like lemmings. It was so wild, so funny. 17 people followed him. Ba 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 ba. And then as soon as they finished, he came out first, and they followed him again. It was fucking hilarious how it worked out. But it makes sense as well, right? If you're the DJ, if you're Riccardo, and if what Reddit says is true, if Riccardo allegedly gets paid, let's say 50 grand per set, he's probably getting a hold of really good stuff. So if he's getting a hold of good stuff, there's probably an industry, an economy, a scene of people who exist just to hang on to DJs. They just, you know, they just hang on. They're just a good company. Because if you're a DJ and you're playing all around the world, you might get lonely. You might get bored. So you might not even have groupies that you fuck. You just have people around you. You just want to have to keep you company. That might be a thing. There might be a whole scene of people out there who keep DJs company during the fucking festival season, and they just get like, you know, like Riccardo's paid enough to kind of pay for your ticket and pay for your accommodation, and you just follow him around. So when he gets drugs, because he knows he gets paid a lot and he's a famous DJ, he's probably gonna get a lot. He's probably gonna get a hold of some good stuff, and then you like, you know, you make sure that you follow him so you can get a little cheeky line or a cheeky bumpski, because it's gonna be some good shit. And then thus the cycle continues. It's a bit of a crazy world. But I am glad that Riccardo's out there living it and doing what he's doing, because I don't think I could do that. I'm not gonna lie. I think a part of me like enjoys actually putting on a good show. A part of me enjoys feeling the vibe and the energy from the crowd. And I know if I was on it all the time, it would kind of dull my senses and I couldn't feel that love and energy. And a part of me kind of enjoys doing stuff in moderation, you know? Doing stuff all the time anyway. Whether it's eating fucking chicken and chips, whether it's flipping getting on it, whether it's fucking drinking a particular drink every single day isn't as fun as maybe having it in moderation or for a celebration, whatever it may be. That's what I would particularly do. But I'm happy Riccardo exists so we can kind of vicariously live through him, because there is legitimately nobody like him out there. And for whatever reason, nowadays, these up-and-coming DJs coming up are so boring, man. They're all into drinking matcha and bromboff and doing yoga and meditating and shit and talking about mental health. It's like, fuck off, mate. It's raving. It's nightclubs. It's dance music. It's electronic music. There is no such thing as mental health. It's like, of course you have mental health issues. You're in a fucking nightclub. We've all got mental health issues. You know what I mean? So these newer generation of DJs, they're not like him. I don't know why. There's not many rockstar DJs anymore. There's very popular DJs, I've noticed. Very, very popular. Probably DJs who are way more popular than Riccardo will ever be. But the rockstar DJ, the one that you kind of look at and think, whoa, man, that guy's living like a really alternative lifestyle, like different, you know what I mean? Like doing things that, you know, doing things their way, going to all these far-flung places to play music in front of these diehard fans, like incredible. It doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. It's a real shame, because I think that's an integral element of nightclub, of like clubbing and shit. Is going to see a rockstar DJ who kind of is a little bit all over the place, maybe clangs a bit, maybe fucks up the selection a bit, but puts on a show. You know what I mean? As opposed to these guys now who are like technically very proficient, can like blend two things effortlessly with no fucking clanging, with no fucking crazy beat match, like all beat match, all everything done particularly well. But then you lose a bit of the spontaneity, you lose a bit of the fucking freestyle, a little bit of the creativity. You know what I mean? Because everything is done so fucking well at such a high level. But it's also boring because the person just wants to go back to the hotel room and do fucking push-ups. No, brother. Do fucking bumps. I just started to saying I'm not promoting people getting on it, but now I'm saying I want more DJs to do more things. I don't know. But hey, big up Riccardo. Big up Blood Clot Riccardo. Big up Young Old Vibes. Yeah, exactly. I hate invoicing because if I don't get my money, it's going to be a problem. Yeah, I feel like the invoicing issue, in my opinion, I think it's a big problem depending on the industry you're in. But I feel like in the UK, it's really bad. I feel like every other day, especially on my timeline, maybe because I follow creative people and shit, I feel like the people on my timeline are always complaining. Oh, what's this? Someone he's showing the vinyl. What's the vinyl he's showing? Atta from Robot Jones is showing this vinyl to the crowd. I guess it's a new track. Let's hear this. I know this is a recording of a pretty long set, but just listen to this now. Am I the only one that can hear how high it is? Like in terms of like drug influenced. It kind of sounds like the type of thing where if you're playing it to yourself and you're on it, you're gonna enjoy it. But it's not really a set you think a crowd's gonna enjoy. That's the problem with Git. I've just noticed it's playing. I was like, what the fuck is he playing? You know, it's not a particular set that you would play to get the crowd jumping, the crowd going. It's a kind of set that you would maybe play at home, you know, if you were having a good time, or maybe on some Pirate Studios or something. But it doesn't sound like a set that the crowd is really enjoying. And based on the lack of dancing on the dance floor, it kind of I think I'm correct in saying this. That's one of the negatives again of having your own little party, because you know no one else is enjoying it apart from you. Anyway, that's where I'm gonna end it. Big up Riccardo Villalobos, big up Rarish, big up Lucadia. Fucking great channel. Check them out if you want to have more viewing of this sort of like, you know, rave cataloging documentary shit that he does. It's fucking amazing. Oh yeah, big up Younger Vibes. But I said about invoicing, to end the invoicing. I feel like for some reason on my timeline, I see way more people complaining about it in the UK. Maybe my timeline is, I'm biased because I follow a lot of people from here. But I feel like a lot of people, maybe in my timeline, or maybe within my little niche of like people who are into like fashion, design, art, music and shit, I feel like all those people are the ones complaining about invoicing. Maybe in other industries, invoicing is a cinch and everyone gets paid on time. But I feel like across the board, invoicing is just a ball ache. No matter how much you put those fucking terms of payment in bold, or you make it in big font, or you put it in color, people always pay late. And when I heard a lot of these DJs play via invoicing, it's like, ugh, I don't know about that, man. Especially if you're having to pay for your flights and shit or whatever. Oh, yeah. That gets a bit tricky. Big up King Bayu. Yeah, I think the Crackhead Angels speak to him in the state to tell him what to play. Big up King Bayu. Big up Thomas Hoeing, man. I've seen everyone except him. A friend told me once he bought the same stuff at the place as him. They were in the same room testing stuff, but that's in Berlin. Really? Oh, nice. Good to know he tests his stuff. Good to know he tests his stuff. Big up the testers. Big up the testers out there. Big up the blood clot testers out there. One person we can't big up is Smokey Robinson. One person we unfortunately can't big up anymore is Smokey Blood Clot Robinson. Big oopsie doopsie for the fucking Motown legend Smokey Robinson, who's accused in a lawsuit of multiple sexual assaults on 4 women who worked for him as a housekeeper. Now, the really scary shit about this is that this is all recent. And this guy's like 100 years old, or maybe like 90 or something. This is the really crazy thing about this. Like, you're usually hearing this sort of stuff happening with men, you know, in, I guess, you know, in their middle age maybe. But I don't think you've heard, or maybe their prime per se, I don't think you've heard of a story of a prominent man being accused of sexual assault who was like in their like 80s, 90s and shit. This is kind of wild. So this is courtesy of Sky News. Let's read the article itself. It says 4 anonymous former housekeepers for Motown legend Smokey Robinson have claimed in a new lawsuit that he allegedly carried out multiple sexual assaults on them while they worked for him. The alleged attacks are said to have taken place at the singer's Los Angeles home between 2007 and 2024. according to the women who are seeking at least $50 million in damages in a civil case filed in the city. They also accused him in a suit of creating a hostile work environment. That goes without saying, by the way. If you're sexually assaulting me, it goes without saying that the work environment is a bit hostile. Forcing them to work illegally long hours and failing to pay them what they're owed. News agencies in the US have been unable to independently verify the allegations, and Robinson has been approached for comment. So that's crazy. That's crazy. That's wild. And that's something that I really detest, in my personal opinion. I detest. Why? Because I feel like when it comes to the whole like sexual power dynamics in the entertainment industry, the lines can get blurred very quickly. Because for better or worse, there are some people in that industry who are okay with exchanging sexual favors for career advancement. That is a stone cold fact, right? No one could argue against that. But the issue is that when you engage in those type of actions, it can lead to issues. It can lead to lines being blurred. It can lead to miscommunications. It can lead to issues, abuse, assault, whatever. So it's probably best not to do that. But there are some people who have definitely got a lot out of their career or have achieved way more because they were happy to, you know, suck somebody off, you know, wank some, whatever it may be. But the thing that I've always detested in my personal, because I think when it comes to the entertainment industry, if you work within it, if you're trying to be a writer, you're trying to be a singer, you're trying to get into the industry, whatever it may be, you're playing with fire, but you're rolling the dice for your career. Cool. Do what you want to do. I would advise against it, especially if you're a woman. I would advise against kind of opening up your legs in order to kind of advance your career, because once you get that reputation, it's hard to kind of shake it off, almost impossible. But if you're going to do it, roll the dice. You know, good luck on your journey. But the thing that I've hated the most is when some of these guys in the entertainment industry then decide to try to abuse or use that same agreement on like regular people who work for them. So housekeepers, assistants and shit. That's the stuff that I fucking hate. It's one thing if like you're engaging in this weird play, this weird exchange of like, hey, I have a job, I have influence, I have power. If you suck me off, I can get you this, I can get you that. It's bizarre, it's odd, it's evil, it's dark. But if another consenting adult wants to agree to that, cool, do it. But then when you start doing it to housemaids, to like nannies and shit, like just doing their job, that's when you become a real monster. That's when you're a real piece of shit. So I think that's where kind of the Harvey Weinstein situation went dark for me. Because the Harvey Weinstein situation, if you really read into it, a lot of people would say behind the scenes that he's a man of his word, unfortunately. That if you did agree to, you know, sleep with him and shit, he would definitely help you become a Hollywood star. Which is also why a lot of prominent Hollywood actresses, especially, never came out and chastised him, because the ones that did work with him only had good things to say about him because, you know, he treated them well. Whatever you want to read into that. But when you start abusing maids, when you start abusing cleaners and shit, nannies and stuff, that's when, nah, you're a real monster. Because they're not involved in that world. They don't give a fuck. They're just working for you, trying to make a salary, look after their fucking family. And here you are trying to muddy those waters and disrupt their lives and blacken up their experiences by doing all this sort of shit, which is, again, unnecessary. But again, not surprising considering, you know, how people move in this industry. And even more so Smokey Robinson, because he's been a freaky boy for a while. Smokey's been a freaky boy. Let's continue. There's Smokey Robinson and his wife, Frances, in Los Angeles. I didn't even know he had a wife, I'm not gonna lie. The way Smokey Robinson moves, I didn't know he had a wife. I'm not gonna lie. The way Smokey Robinson moves, the things he says, like the way he dances on stage, I had no idea he had a wife. Big up Francis though. The claimants say that Robinson, who's 85 years old, imagine sexually assaulting people in your 80s, would wait until he was alone with them in the house before carrying out alleged attacks, despite objections. All the women who have withheld their names for privacy reasons eventually resigned over the assaults. The lawsuit claims, though in some cases it took several years. According to the suit, they feared coming forward over fears of retaliation, public shame, and possible the effects of immigration status. Maybe the public shame comes around letting an 85-year-old man abuse you, you know? Because he's so frail. Maybe people would think, oh, you should just push him away. But in that instance, in that scenario, I don't think you can victim blame at all, because, you know, people freeze up. Those situations are fucking horrifying. and you have no idea how you're gonna react to it unless you're in it. So, no one should be feeling public shame about this sort of stuff, especially if true. The claim further states that Robinson's wife, Frances Robinson, enabled his behavior. Whoa, similar to Chris D'Elia and his wife, innit? Frances Robinson enabled his behavior. It also says that she was responsible for creating a hostile work environment and shouted at them and used ethnic slurs. Yeah, I'm not surprised. This auntie right here, that auntie right there looks like she uses an ethnic slur or two. That auntie right there looks like she shouts at her fucking house helpers, the maids, and she definitely lets her racial slur or two slip out of the tongue or slip off her tongue for sure. That auntie there looks like she don't play no games. One woman suffered at least 20 assaults from 2012 to 2014, while another who worked for the couple from 2014 to 2020, was said to have been assaulted 23 times. A different woman whose claims have been made in the suit accused Robinson of assaulting her 7 times, including at least 1 rape in the year she worked for them. The fourth woman claimed similar experiences to the other woman, but did not say how many times she was allegedly assaulted during the 18 years she worked for Robinson. She also acted as Frances Robinson's personal assistant, hairdresser, and cook. Fucking wild. Smokey Robinson's out here essaying people in his 80s. Can you imagine? Can you fucking imagine sexually assaulting somebody in your 80s? It's like, bro, when will you ever turn it off? But we shouldn't be surprised, by the way, because remember his album. Remember that album that fucking Smokey Robinson put out that went viral called Gasms, which is an abbreviation for orgasm, right? And it's got him on the front cover with his light eyes, right? Looking all sultry and shit. But look at the track listing of the 2023 Smokey Robinson album, Gasms, short for orgasms. The first track, Gasms. The second track, I Wanna Know, what's that? I Wanna Know Your... Actually, let me get up here because this guy is fucking filthy. Big up Smokey Blood Clot Robinson. So on Gasms, right? Big up the Gasms, man, them. The first track, Gasms. The second track, How to Make You Feel. The third track, I Wanna Know Your Body. This man's 80-something years old, by the way. I Wanna Know Your Body, right? The fourth track, I Keep Calling You. Fifth track, Roll Around. Roll Around. Number 6 track, Beside You. Number 7 track, If We Don't Have Each Other. Number 8 track, You Fill Me Up. And number 9 track was the most disgusting one of all, I Fit In There. I Fit In There, bro. This man's 80 years old. I Fit In There. Yo, opening your album with Gasm and then ending it with I Fit In There is fucking crazy. And I think I Fit In There might be the longest track on, yeah. And I Fit In There is the longest track on the album. 5 minutes 48. The longest runtime is 5 minutes 48. I Fit In There. What an absolute freaky old man. But yeah, it's kind of looking crazy for Smokey Robinson. It's kind of looking crazy for him. It's kind of looking crazy for Smokey Blood Clot Robinson. Hey yo, big up Bad Bunny. Big up Blood Clot Bad Bunny. Bad Bunny has announced his world tour. Bad Bunny has announced his Blood Clot world tour for Debí Más Fotos. Debí Más Fotos world tour. He's opening up his world tour in November 2021 in Santo Domingo, Dominican Republic, right? And then he's ending his world tour in, wow, July 26th in July 2020 in 2026. He's opening up his tour in Santo Domingo, Dominican Republic on November 21st of this year. And then he closes it on July 22nd of 2026. That's a proper world tour in Belgium. Wow. And he's also going to London. 2 shows in London. He's got a show on the 27th. And there's also a show on the 28th at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. 2 shows in London, which I'm definitely going to go to at least one of those fucking shows. I can't fucking wait. Let's run through the locations. He's going to San Jose, Mexico City, Medellin, Lima, Santiago, Buenos Aires, Sao Paulo, Sydney, Australia, Tokyo, Japan, Barcelona, Lisbon, Madrid, Dusseldorf, Anaheim, London, Marseille, Paris, Stockholm, Warsaw, Milan, and Brussels. I'm really looking forward to going. Bad Bunny is one of my favorite artists out there at the moment. It's also given me a real kick up the arse to try and learn my Spanish. By the time he fucking does his fucking performance here in London, when is it? When's the London day? London day is again in June. So give me the kick up the arse I need to fucking learn Spanish, because part of the reason why I also want to understand and speak Spanish is so I can understand all these lyrics and these fucking great reggaeton fucking tracks and albums and artists that I'm a big fan of. Do you know what I mean? And I can't understand anything that's good. I love the vibe, I love what's going on, you know, whatever I can, you know, take away from what I listen to, but I want to listen, I want to understand, listen deeply to the lyrics. From Bad Bunny's point of view, or from his side of things, I think from what I've been able to read between the lines, most of his lyrics are pretty, you know, pretty X-rated. You know, he's always talking about fucking and sucking and fucking, sucking and fucking. But I still want to listen. I still want to understand. So I cannot wait for this tour, because it's going to give me all the time that I need to learn Spanish, to learn Espanol, so I can then understand everything that he says during the fucking tour. I honestly cannot wait. Let's actually play the trailer for the tour announcement that he released on his Instagram. Big up fucking Bad Bunny. Let's play the tour trailer here, and then we can continue. Por fin.
Atención, por favor. Queremos informarles que ya hay vuelos disponibles con destino a Europa. Gracias por su espera.
Yes, yache, por fin.
But yeah, big up fucking Bad Bunny. Look at the comments on this. Look at this. I'm not sure if this lady is telling the truth, but this lady said, Japan, Australia, postponing the wedding because I got money to save. Bad Bunny is such a star. He's such an icon. He's such a fucking legend. People are legitimately going to postpone their weddings, wedding preparations, to save up money so they can spend on the Bad Bunny tour tickets. Fucking incredible. That's the real power. That's the real star power. That's real icon shit. Big up Bad Bunny. Can't wait to see him perform. Can't wait to see him perform. Cannot wait to see him perform. Moving on. Let's talk a little bit about Stormzy. So most of you guys will know that Stormzy ran into a little bit of a controversy issue relating to his stance on Palestine, and then deciding to kind of, you know, turn around and change his mind when he endorsed or he had that collaboration with McDonald's. And now he's running into a bit of an issue now because people are responding pretty negatively to this new track that he put out called Sorry Rach, where he kind of pokes fun at the fact that people don't like him anymore because of his changing in stance. And I just wanted to kind of briefly explain what happened. So maybe, I don't know, maybe last year sometime, Stormzy decided, you know, without any provocation, without any kind of pressure, he decided to put this post up on his Instagram, basically supporting Palestine, where he says, I hope everyone's good. Some fleeting thoughts. Number one, free Palestine. Number two, in the future, if there's ever a clear injustice in the world, no matter how big or small, 100 times out of 100, I'll be on the side of the oppressed, unequivocally, as I always have been. Social media is a brilliant way to stand up for what is right. There's also a whole load of other ways to do this. It's a picture of him on his phone with his golf clubs chilling, right? So it's a pretty nice post, right? Free Palestine, whatever it may be. Someone, especially of a celebrity of his sort of status. So everyone kind of was like, yeah, cool. Big up Stormzy for saying what he said on his platform about Palestine. That doesn't have to, but the fact that he did is fucking sick. But then for whatever reason, well, we know why, but for some reason he decided to turn around and change his mind a year later and decided to do a collaboration with McDonald's, who a lot of people now are boycotting because of their ties to the IDF and Israeli government, and obviously what's going on with the genocide over there in Palestine. So people are going out their way to boycott it, especially if you're, vocally pro-Palestine. You're not going to endorse McDonald's because of their, links to Israel. Stormzy decides to link up with McDonald's and do one of their collaboration meal things where they link up with an artist and essentially ask them what their go-to meal is if they order a McDonald's. And Stormzy did a special one where, nuggets, McFlurry, fries, and a Sprite. And allegedly, according to people online, the word is that he got paid 4.5 million for this deal, for this collaboration, for this endorsement. Now, whether it's 4.5 million, whether it's 1 million, whether it's 10 grand, that's not really the problem. I think the problem for people online, especially the people who are super pro-Palestine, is that he went out of his way to say he's pro-Palestine and then basically did an about face and changed his mind in the most, jarring way possible by endorsing a company who a lot of people are boycotting because of their ties to the Israeli government and because of them basically placing responsibility on McDonald's for the ongoing genocide that's occurring over there in Palestine. So people are rightfully outraged about this, right? I think a lot of the conversation around the boycotting of certain companies and stuff is a little bit lame and a little bit misguided and whatever it may be. But I do respect a lot of the people who are having a stance in this, who are very vocal about it, and who are living what they say. You know what I mean? They're living their raps. They're boycotting all these companies. They're making it, they're making it known. And even if their favorite artist ends up linking up with them because they're so kind of determined to have some sort of influence, some sort of say-so in the end of the genocide over there in Palestine, they are willing to even cut, ties with their favorite artists if they link up with a company that they've kind of boycotted. You kind of have to respect that sort of level of resolve and determination. So when everyone turned against Stormzy, I could kind of understand why, because, you went from that to this. It's just a bit crazy. He decides to then release a statement on his Instagram to kind of explain why he basically made that decision. And in my opinion, again, the Instagram stories caption explanation is a little bit of a cowardly move, because you're not putting it on your feed. You're putting it on your story because you want people to read it, obviously. But then you also don't want it on your feed, like as a constant reminder that you had to like explain yourself and shit or own up to whatever mistake that you made. And to be honest as well, there is no explanation that's gonna make it okay, especially for the people who were happy and supported you more because they felt like you politically aligned with them. Now that they know that you don't anymore, they're going to be really heartbroken, because some people take politics and shit really seriously. And they obviously take the fucking genocide of the Palestinian people very seriously. They're going to be heartbroken and they're never going to forgive you. So in short, I don't know who this statement was for. It was not needed. He should have just done the calibration with McDonald's anyway and just kept it moving. He didn't need to try to explain it, because when he did try to explain it or offer some sort of context or whatever, it made things even worse. At the time when he put out the statement, he said the following: "Hey guys, wanted to address some twisted narrative that has been circulating online this past week. Firstly, I didn't archive the post where I came out to support Palestine for any reason outside of me archiving a load of IG posts last year. In that post, I spoke about free Palestine, oppression, injustice, and my stance has not changed." So that's another detail that people also were really mad at, was that when he posted what he posted about Palestine, once he accepted that deal with McDonald's, he archived / deleted that post. So a lot of people were like, oh my God, like, you're a real hypocrite. You're a real sellout. You're a real piece of shit, because number one, first of all, you're standing with Palestinian people. And then when it benefits you financially, you don't stand with them. And you then delete any trace of you standing with them and speaking up for them so that you can secure the bag. So all that stuff made things even worse than what it was, right? It continues: "The brands I work with can't tell me what to do and don't tell me what to do. Otherwise, I wouldn't work with them. I do my own research on all brands I work with, gather my own information, form my own opinion, and come to my own conclusion before doing business." Which again comes off very arrogant. It comes off kind of gaslighty in a way. And it also kind of suggests that his research is better than the people who are anti-Israel, pro-Palestinian, and their stance on not on boycotting McDonald's. He's almost saying as if like, I did more research and I found out that there's no reason to boycott McDonald's. They did nothing wrong, did everything correct. Big up DSP, fuck DSP. You know, it kind of sounds like that. So this statement was a really bad decision. It continues. He says, I'm writing this because I know there are people out there who have supported me and rooted for me who are generally confused and hurt by what they think has happened. And I want to give these people clarity, so I hope this helps. I understand it must feel disappointing and disheartening when it seems like someone you championed has compromised their beliefs for commercial gain, but this isn't the case here. Of course it's the case. That's the thing as well. It's like, bro, I know there's no way of like saying it and not sounding like a piece of shit. There's no way where you can say, I've compromised and changed my beliefs for money. I'm a sellout. I've done it so I can kind of support my family. There's no excuse for it, but this is why I did it. There's no way to say it that's not going to make you sound bad or to not make it, you know, whatever. But there's no, like, trying to say that you didn't do that when that's exactly what you did is fucking crazy. Because if you didn't accept any money for it, it makes you look even worse, right? If you compromise your beliefs and you didn't receive any monetary benefit from it at all, it makes you look bad. If you did receive monetary benefit from it, it still makes you look bad. So either way, the best solution to go forward would be to just shut the fuck up and just, you know, accept your lickings, accept that some people are never going to like you again, and it's fundamentally changed how you're going to be viewed by some people, but you're still going to have your fans who are going to rock with you. It's not that deep, you know what I mean? But I guess for whatever reason, this society we live in at the moment, people want to have their cake and eat it too. People want to have the ability to do and say what they want, but then they also want to make sure that they can convince you that what they did and say, what they said and did wasn't what they said and did, you know? It's like, no, you don't get the chance to say that. You can say and do what you want. You can decide to change your principles, your morals, whatever, and do an about face and a 180, whatever you want to do. Cool. But then I'm well within my rights to change my support for you based on that, because my support for you was partly based on the fact that I thought that we politically, societally agreed on certain things. Now that I know that we don't, and we're not the same type of person, I'm not going to be a fan of you, but then you don't get to try to convince me or try and manipulate or gaslight me into thinking that I'm the problem and I haven't really understood it well. You know, I thought this statement was in real bad faith. Like the other two things I don't really give a fuck about too much, but I thought this statement was a little bit insulting to the fans when it comes to Stormzy. It continues to say, social media and the internet quickly pass judgment without full context. While I want to continue to be open and honest, I prefer not to respond immediately for every misunderstanding or clear up every false narrative that surrounds my name. Lots of love, Storms X. And again, it's too late now, isn't it? It's too late. The narrative is out there. There is no clearing up of a narrative because the narrative is the narrative. Because I hate that, by the way. That's another thing people do nowadays. Oh, you're taking it out of context. You know what I mean? You're trying to run a narrative. It's like, no, sometimes the narrative is a narrative. Sometimes there is no context that's missing. The context is the context. Like, you know, you did what you did, and it is what it is. Continuing on, obviously you got some advertisement there of what he's done, and you got some advertisements here that people were putting up at McDonald's, stickers that says, we regret to inform you that Stormzy have sold out. Apologies for any disappointment. People put up these random stickers in protest of, you know, being anti-Stormzy at all these different drive-thrus in London, I'm assuming, or in the UK in general. But then the other thing that I think really isn't gonna help, isn't gonna sit well with people, is Stormzy's reaction to this, where he finally put it, you know, on wax, put it in a lyric, in a tune. Sorry, the tune's called "Sorry Rach." I played it as my song of the day the other day because I'm not the biggest fan of Stormzy. I don't really listen to his music, and I thought this was one of the best ones I've heard from him in a long time, which makes sense as well. I've said it previously. I think most artists, when they go through a tough time, that's when they produce their best music. So it's no surprise that he's going through this cancellation, quote unquote. These fans are kind of turning against him. People are kind of writing him off. They're saying he's this, saying he's that. It's no surprise that he went into the booth and put together a song that I think, you know, has some substance to it and definitely hits and bangs the way it probably should. The production helps, the music video helps, everything is fucking good with it. But there's a lyric here where he kind of mentions the controversy. It starts, I think one of the instances where he mentions it is the opening verse where he says, St. Nicholas couldn't have built code for court. St. Nicholas couldn't have built himself a code of court. If I need the money, I just go on tour. St. Nicholas couldn't have built himself a code of cool. Nah, if I need the money, I just go and tour. So you get the feeling in this bar, he's almost insinuating that he didn't do the McDonald's collaboration for the money. Like, you're dumb if you think that. I didn't do it for the money. Which is also kind of dumb, because it's like, if you didn't do it for the money, then what do you do it for then? Did you compromise your beliefs, compromise your principles? Did you turn your back on all those people that were supporting you way more because of your stance, you know, against Israel, your stance for pro-Palestine? Like, you know what I mean? Like, does that make any sense? Unless maybe he means he did the deal with McDonald's to get like shares of it or something, or maybe as a look or something, or to promote like portion control, because I think his meal was just nuggets, right? Nuggets and fries. I think his meal was, right? Yeah. Maybe he thinks he's promoting portion control. Maybe it's kind of, you know, I don't know what the point was, but that was a strange way to kind of go about it. But that was the first sort of indication that he's talking about the actual controversy that happened to him. And then if you scroll down, he continues and says the following. He says this: I heard they want to hang me out to drive. I heard they want to hang me out to drive for a nugget meal. The world might never love you your way again, but my mother will. One more time. I heard they want to hang me out to drive for a nugget meal. The world might never love your way again, but my mother will. Which again is a bit disingenuous, because he's the one that started it. Like, no one asked him. I don't think so anyway. I don't know. I'm not checking the guy's comments and shit, but I don't think there was a lot of pressure societally for him to come out and have a stance, whether it's pro-Israel or pro-Palestine. I don't think anyone was expecting him to do that, you know? But he did. He came out, he had a very strong stance, free Palestine. The second post was about the oppression against all people, which I guess is relating to all the other atrocities that was happening at the same time that the Palestinian genocide was occurring. So essentially, he's standing in solidarity with all people who are being oppressed, which is a really, you know, cool thing and a great thing to kind of stand up for, especially considering his level of celebrity. But no one was clamoring for him to say anything, really and truly. He went out there to say it. Then when he gets an opportunity to turn back on what he says for a check, he takes it. And then he's surprised at people's reaction against it or for that decision. Like, how could you be surprised? And no one's trying to hang you out. I think it's just the people that thought you were on their side are now saying you're not on their side anymore. But I think his actual fans, who are fans of the music, who don't really probably give a shit about his political leanings or what he gets up to in his personal life, they're probably not that bothered. I bet you they're not that bothered. I bet you the fans who actually support him and go to all these shows, I bet you those cats aren't bothered in the slightest. Not in the slightest. I bet you. So it's strange that he's doing this like weird, trying to make it seem as if like people are making up narratives and pushing a certain agenda. It's like, bro, you went out of your way to say that you're pro-Palestinian or pro-Palestine, and now all of a sudden you're changing your mind based on the check that you received. Fair enough. But this is not going to help the situation. And I'm wondering if there's like a way nowadays where you can sell out clearly, and also not have to do all this shit, not have to explain yourself, statements and shit, and just have people accept it for what it is or not. For me, it kind of is like similar to podcasts that have ads. Like, there's one particular podcast I listen to at the moment called How Long Gone, one of my favorites I listen to. I've listened to the latest episode, but I listen to all the episodes usually. And one of the things I'm starting to hate about it recently was the number of ads. But if I don't like listening to the ads and the pods, because they're not going to stop doing them because it makes the money, I get it, I'll just stop listening to the podcast overall. It'll be a sad thing because I'm enjoying it and it takes up, you know, an hour of my day in terms of my entertainment and listening pleasures and shit. So it'd be sad to give it up. But if they keep hammering the pod with more ads, or keep flooding it with more ads, there might come a time where I'll be like, you know what, I'm just not listening to someone because the experience isn't good, right? It doesn't fill me with joy anymore. And I think I'm within my right to do that. But I think the people that own the podcast, they also within their right to have as many ads as they want if that's what they're about. So I think both people, you know, can decide to do the type of thing. So I think in this particular case, if you're Stormzy, you can't be surprised that some people are really disappointed and pissed off that happened. It just is what it is. But for some reason, I guess he wants to try to have some level of control of the narrative, try to explain away his decision to make it make sense. It's like, for the people who don't agree with you, it will never make sense. For people that love your music, they don't give a fuck. So just focus on people that love your music. It's not really that big of a deal. But again, the only other side thing about the situation is that I think this tune might be one of Stormzy's best songs ever, in my opinion. And this is coming from somebody that's not the biggest Stormzy fan, which is again another sad thing in these situations where you go through a really hard time and you end up making some of the best art you've ever made. But unfortunately, you also have to pay a high price because you know for sure that in some people's eyes, Stormzy's legacy has been forever tainted because of this, you know? There's no way you can ever come back from this with some people, especially considering how other people, maybe not artists, but other like social media figures and shit influencers are very vocally pro-Palestinian, like unapologetically. And then you got Stormzy here kind of, you know, turning around and changing his mind, deleting posts and shit once he gets a check from McDonald's. It's kind of scummy, it's kind of grimy, but I guess that's the music industry. I guess that's the blood clot music industry. Moving on. Have you guys heard Kanye West's new song? Have you guys heard Kanye West's good song? Or new song, not good song, new song. I don't know if it's good. It's an interesting song. I'll play you a snippet of it so you can hear what the vibe is. But wow, I guess he's going for it then. I guess he's going for it.
Man, these people took my kids from me, then they froze my bank account. I got so much anger in me, got no way to take it out. Think I'm stuck in a matrix when I fuss my nitrous. Yes, I am a cook, I like when people fuck on my bitch. The shit that I'm posting on Twitter, they telling me, hey, don't say that. How niggas can't see me in public, I'm driving an all-chrome Maybach. With all of the money and fame, I still can't get my kids back. With all of the money and fame, I still don't get to see my children. Niggas see my Twitter, but they don't see how I be feeling. So I became a Nazi, yeah, bitch, I'm the villain. Nigga, how healer? Nigga, how healer? They don't understand the things I say on Twitter. Nigga, how healer? They don't understand the things I say on Twitter. All my niggas Nazis, nigga, how healer? Nigga, how healer? Nigga, how healer? All my niggas Nazis, nigga, how healer? She wanna fuck with Japan.
So, I don't know, man. I don't know what to say, really. I wish there was more substance to the song, you know? I wish there was more substance to the song. I wish he was actually saying something, like, because for me, it feels like whenever it comes to Ye and this sort of stuff that he's doing, it all just feels like whenever someone tells him he can't say something, he goes out of his way to try and prove he can say it. Like, no, I can say it, I can do what I want. So it's less so about him actually saying anything of interest, him actually pushing anything forward, asking really interesting questions, blah, 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 and just a way for him to kind of flex that he can't be cancelled, he can't be stopped, he can't be made broke or poor or whatever it may be. It's like, bro, we get it. You're rich. You can kind of do what you want. That's the benefit. But surely doing what you want shouldn't be about, you know, hate. Even the song itself is like, I got so much hate in me. I just want to express. It's like everything is just hate laced. Nothing is like based in love. Nothing is based in uplifting people. Nothing is based on like, you know, nothing is centered in inspiring, motivating. You know how his music used to hit. Everything is based on pure, unbridled hate and frustration, and a lot of it is self-inflicted. A lot of the issues that he has, that he's complaining about, are issues that he can sort out himself, or issues that he's kind of caused for himself. But he refuses to acknowledge it. He refuses to deal with them, and kind of blames or puts responsibility on everyone else's shoulders apart from himself. Like even the issue with these kids. Like, why are people speaking up about my kids? It's like, what's that got to do with everyone else? Why should your kids be? Why should regular folks on social media be involved in your custody battle with the Kardashians over your children? Shouldn't you be going to the courts to get that sorted? Shouldn't you be trying to mediate with your ex-wife and mother of your children to try and come to some sort of, you know, solution or whatever it may be? Why should the fans? Why should the viewers? Why should the randoms on social, other celebrities be involved? It makes no sense. So a lot of this vitriol, a lot of this energy that he's put into this song is really misplaced because it could be directed to himself to pull himself out of this place he's in. But as a fan of art, I would be lying if I said it's not somewhat refreshing and cool to see somebody be able to do exactly what they want, how they want it, when they want it. You know? Like that FU money is real, where you can kind of do what the fuck you want, you know? And it never stops. Maybe he hasn't got the ability to work with certain producers, right? Maybe that's what he's lost access to, because I feel like this song, although it's good, maybe it doesn't bang as much as it bangs when it was on stream. Maybe the drums don't hit as hard as they probably should. Maybe the production is not as tight as it probably should be. But that always because of, you know, him being excommunicado from the industry. So he's lost access to a lot of like noteworthy, high-level people in engineering, producing, who maybe could have helped with this music because they don't want to be associated with him because he's like on some madness. But the one great thing about being Ye is that you get to still be involved. You get to still put your hat in the ring. You get to still participate because no one can turn your lights off, you know? But I just wish with all that power, with all that money, with all that resource, with all those resources, he used it for some level of good and he put some love back into the world, you know? He uplifted people. I don't know, he spoke from a real place instead of all this shit. It's like, you know, like you're not going to ever you're not ever going to win in this rewriting of history when it comes to Hitler. It's not going to happen, you know? You're never going to convince the wider public that we've all got it wrong and that you know best, especially when you're Ye and you're a person who goes out of his way to tell people that you don't read and they think reading is useless. We're not going to listen to you, you know, because if you don't read, then you have no idea who this guy actually is. You have no basis of information or knowledge. You don't even know what point to argue from. You just argue from pure feelings, you know what I mean? Pure emotion. Which is obviously the way he kind of goes about doing things, but I think that isn't the way to go personally. I don't like that. So it's a shame, disappointing, but it's also not so surprising to hear that the song does sound pretty decent, you know, despite it being a really foul message. It does sound kind of decent, all things considered. I'm not surprised. I really am not surprised that's the case, but it's a shame that the song couldn't have been a better subject matter, you know. Let's just say that. Could have been a better subject matter, but I guess it is what it is. Moving on. I also wanted to play a clip of Ye on the Piers Morgan show. So Ye sat down with Piers Morgan for an interview, and it went about as well as you'd expect it to go, right? It went about as well as expected to go. Ye sat down with Piers Morgan and Sneako, actually. Sneako was sat alongside Ye during this interview, and it went really badly. And I think it went really badly because Ye always wanted it to go badly. I don't think he ever was going to give Piers a serious interview. I think he wanted to troll him, maybe to kind of get back at him for the other interview they did together. I'm not really too sure, but I don't think he ever wanted to have like a serious interview with him, because I think if you can tell when I play this video, he was on a mess about time from the beginning. But let's play the clip.
2 years ago, I interviewed Kanye Ye West on Uncensored after he'd made global headlines for anti-Semitic outbursts. Most outrageously, he tweeted that he wanted to go DEFCON 3 on Jewish people. It was a heated interview. It was a long interview. I held him to account. I told him his remarks were offensive. He caused many people a lot of pain. And he gave me some back, of course. He called me a Karen. Fair enough, I can take it. At least we had a mostly grown-up conversation. These constant tirades, Ye, against Jewish people.
Have you felt my pain yet?
Okay, yeah. So now looking at these clips from the old interview, it's obvious that Ye wanted to get back at him because he felt like maybe, you know, Piers maybe embarrassed him or called him out of some shit. So that's why I guess this interview went left.
You haven't felt my pain.
You
don't want to feel my pain.
Well, no,
you don't hold You don't hold accountability to my pain.
Grown ass man, by the way. Grown ass man in his 40s. La-ing people like that. Grown ass man in his 40s approaching 50s. Like, if you don't agree with what I have to say, la. Yeah, can be so childish sometimes, isn't it? It's such a child.
Pain.
So
You're
petulant.
being a Karen.
Do you believe that you have any form of mental illness?
I believe that I suffered from exhaustion. I suffered from being lied to constantly by the people around me, by my management, by my ex-wife.
Do you still love Kim?
I absolutely love. I'll love her for life.
That interview lasted 2 hours in the end. We covered a lot of ground. There were moments of tension and moments, I think, of mutual understanding. Yeah, he got up and walked off at one point, but he had to think about what he wanted to say, and then he came back and he said it.
And we'll have the top lawyers like a Johnny Cochran, Robert Kardashian level legal team, you know, looking at all of these contracts together. After that moment happens, then I will say, I'm sorry.
Okay, if that's your position,
that's clear. Interview adjourned. Love you.
Yeah, thanks for sitting back down. I'll change the subject now. Obviously, I have no idea what's going on in this guy's head, and he's unquestionably a genius artist with a global fan base and massive talent. He's lived most of his life under the microscope of it.
Okay, let's get over for intro. Let's go ahead, yeah.
Down, he should be stopped. Spotted that he was in Spain with his
multi-tracks right now.
At the moment, it's fair to say the headlines are equal.
Dear.
Okay, rapper, producer, and fashion designer is currently working on a new album. Several new tracks were previewed on a recent live stream with his friend Sneako. And both Sneako and Ye join me now. Well, welcome to Uncensored. Ye, we haven't spoken for a while. How are you?
I'm doing good. I don't use the term West, you know, the whole drop the slave name idea.
Okay, so we just call you Ye, yeah?
Yes, sir.
Okay, well, look, when I last interviewed you, we had a long conversation. And since then, a lot has happened in your life. And so I'm grateful for the opportunity to try and talk to you about some of this. How would you say your life is at the moment?
I mean, you see that view?
Yeah. Your life is good?
Well, judge it on the view as the answer to how my life is. Judge me by the view.
Well, the view is Mallorca. I've been there. It's a beautiful place. And for all intents and purposes, you seem very relaxed and happy. That is in direct contrast to your public image at the moment over the last couple of years, led by your ferocious... Well, hang on, let me finish the question. Led by your ferocious use of...
No, but I already disagree. It's not in contrast. There's so many people and artists that are championing the idea of someone being able to just express who they really are and have been able to go through the war of being attacked by the banks, being attacked, you know, by the banks. That's the best way to put it, being attacked by the banks and to still be here with this view is, you know, that's the win. So I think I'm in contrast to your contrast.
Okay, but the point
it's kind of hard to have a conversation with him because his framing is like always about himself, innit? That's the hard thing about Ye. It's difficult to have a really honest conversation interview with him because he doesn't really ever see what he does as wrong. Everything he does is right, but everyone's reaction to him is wrong. You know? He can say as much hurtful things he wants to people. It's not a Beyonce thing. He called their kids redacted and stuff. He's called them names, said some mad shit about them. But then in the next tweet, he expects Jay and Beyonce to help him with the custody of his kids. It's like, bruh, could you go from insulting people to then ask them for help? Is that how it works? I don't think so, but in Ye's brain it does.
I was going to make is that I watch what you put out on X. You've got 32 million followers, so you're one of the most followed people.
See, wait. Now look right now. You're not gonna take inches off my dick, bro. Like, how many followers do I have?
Well, how many is it?
I think you could do the study. You got a whole staff over there.
I thought it was 32 million. How many is it? You obviously know.
I mean, no. I mean, don't help them out. You know, they.
I'm told it's 33 million now. So congratulations. You're slightly big.
Fucking hell. Ye telling Sneako, cut your hair. Ye telling Sneako, don't help them. Put the camera down. Turn this on. Turn that on. Tough. It's tough. He's the main star of the show, Ye, but it's tough to be around him, innit? Because he reminds you who's the dog. He reminds you the top dog. He reminds you at all times. Don't help them. Like, who are you talking to?
Bigger following than I thought.
No. No, congratulations. Your information is correct. You're not just some, dude trying to sub. I'm a gift, bro. You know what I mean? Why do all you people in media act like you haven't played my songs at your weddings or graduations or at funerals or when your child was born? You take somebody that's living like a Lennon, a Michael Jackson, and you just take all this time to just like that nuance right there. It's idiotic.
But isn't it idiotic that he doesn't understand that the same people who he says has played his music at weddings, at their funerals and stuff, are the same people who are more disappointed because what they knew of him isn't what they knew of him now. You know what I mean? The version of Ye they know now, or they're exposed to now, isn't the same one they kind of fell in love with, which is why they're more disappointed. Is why they're hurt way more. He's allowed to change his mind. He's allowed to have different perspective on the world. He's allowed to say what the fuck he wants to say, but not understanding why some of your biggest fans might be disappointed in how you've kind of decided to kind of go about doing your shit is an interesting thing. He doesn't have to understand, again, doesn't owe anybody an explanation or understanding, but the way he frames stuff is interesting, Like, he's always the victim. Nobody else he's never done anything wrong to anybody. He's never wronged anybody. Everything he says is truth. Everything he says is just. He's always right. But everybody else's reaction to him is wrong.
It just shows the hate that you put out for people that put love. There's so much love in the art that I put out.
With all due respect,
so many,
what are you talking about?
Exactly.
I haven't said anything.
What are you talking about? It's dirty. Okay, now you're not taking accountability or responsibility.
You said you implied I haven't played your music. Of course I played your music.
No, sir. This is what you get for now. We can circle back when you can count.
Okay.
What?
Where's he gone, Sneako?
And that's it. That's how it ends.
That's it for Ye. But it's nice to meet you, Piers.
Where's he gone?
And that's where it ends. And then, him and Piers have an interview with Sneako, but that's where it fucking ends. And yeah, man, Ye's a trip at the moment. Ye's a trip. Ye's a fucking trip. I guess I'm just waiting to see how it ends, personally. I'm curious to see how it ends. But Ye is a fucking trip. Ye really is a trip at the moment. We're getting some interesting music, interesting subject matter. We're getting some nonsensical pranks and whatever else it may be going on. And let's see how it ends. Let's see how it ends. It could end badly. It's likely to end very badly, but I hope it doesn't. Moving on. Big up Blood Clot Matthew Welty. Big up Blood Clot Matthew Welty. Matthew Welty, one of the co-hosts of Full Send podcast and a contributor to Complex Sneakers, is going through a little bit of a cancellation, a little bit of an issue on social media because he decided to voice his frustration at this retailer called what's the name called UNheardof brand, who who put together a collaboration with Adidas and have been kind of pushing for their shoe to be sneaker of the year this year, campaigning for it this year. And for whatever reason, Matthew Welty has got a real issue with people asking him or demanding of him his opinion on the shoe, which is interesting because his whole job is to give his opinion on sneakers. He works for Complex Sneakers. He's a co-host on one of the most popular sneaker podcasts out there in full size round, So in this particular tweet, he quote tweets it and says, "I think I would like this sneaker more if I wasn't constantly asked what my opinion of this shoe is. Pretty annoying at this point, not gonna lie." And we'll play a clip from Full Send that's quote tweeted in this from UNheardof brand, where they say, "Well, what y'all think? Brendan asks Matthew Welty his faults. What y'all think? Y'all still love pork chop." So let's play the clip that Matthew Welty got so pissed off about.
I am wearing the Adidas Adistar Cushion 3 Pink Pig UNheardof Cincinnati collab.
Sneaker of the year?
If you say so.
Well, I'm not, but...
Well, you literally are. You literally just said that. What do you mean you're not?
That was meant to be question mark.
Oh, okay.
Oh, wait, are people saying that?
People online, yeah.
Really? They look clean.
A lot of people were asking me about them. I wore them to the office. I had 4 or 5 people.
On the subway or in the office?
In the office.
Okay. Yeah, they look pretty clean.
And Phil's got the Grandma's Couch Rivalry Low, the next one coming out. I think that's the best colorway of that
Another
sneaker
Grandma's
yet.
Couch.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Shout out to him. What do we want to talk about today?
Let
I am wearing the Adidas Adistar.
So for some reason, he got pissed off at people asking him his opinion on whether or not that shoe is sneaker of the year. Very strange thing to complain about, but this is very on brand for Matthew Welty. From the time that I followed him on social, and from the time that I've kind of noticed him on kind of sneaker Twitter in general, he's a bit of a miserable cunt. You know, he's a bit of a miserable cunt. He has some very bad takes when it comes to sneakers. I think in general, he talks a lot of shit, personally for me, when it comes to sneakers. His opinion on shoes, I don't really rate, because he seems like he loves anything that's got a New Balance sign on the side of it, he loves. I don't think I've ever seen him say he doesn't like a New Balance, to be honest. And even worse when it comes to Adidas, because Adidas is his thing, because he's more into that sort of like, football culture, aesthetic sort of thing. Even though I don't think he actually watches football or plays football, he's very much into that kind of like, hooligan type of way of wearing, Manchester type of drip with the Adidas's and the Stone Island, whatever it may be. So he's a big fanboy of Adidas and New Balance. So anytime those two brands put out a decent enough retro, he's going to be all over them. So it's kind of funny to see him really get his knickers in a twist, because the people who own this brand, UNheardof, are campaigning for their shoe to be sneaker of the year, which I think is a pretty nice shoe, right? It's an Adistar Cushion free. It's called a pork chop Piggy Runners. It's in this nice pink hue, which you don't again get on sneakers nowadays. You don't really usually get a lot of sneakers that are pink in general. It's just a fun shoe. It's a fun shoe. Love the application of what they've done here. Loads of nice material flips, a lot of bit of suede, some mesh on here, nice bright pink popping. You got some great hang tags. I like the heel design. Like, it's an actual really cool shoe. Like, if you put this in your sneaker of the year list, I'm going to respect you more, and I'm going to respect your opinion on sneakers way more than if you put the fucking reimagined Jordan 1s, you know? Because this is a lot more, this is kind of like out of the box. This is a lot more of a personal taste sort of thing. This also kind of shows that you're actually about buying shoes and not just about buying stuff that are limited edition. Because that's what happens to a lot of these complex sneaker of the year lists. They just end up being the most popular shoe of that year, you know, as opposed to, because for sure, this year sneaker of the year, they're definitely going to have that Jordan 4, the navy and fucking white one, right? The Jordan 4 SB. They're for sure going to have that on the list. But if it was me personally, because it, the Pine one was in the list last year or whatever else it may be, I would admit it, and I would add maybe a fucking Adidas and the A6 just to kind of mix it up a little bit. Because I feel like sneaker of the year shouldn't always be about limited edition shoes. It should be about what your actual personal taste is. Maybe sneaker of the year polls should be strict about it only being a shoe that you actually bought. You know, maybe that should be one of the criteria. But if that's a bit too strict, then sneaker of the year shouldn't be about, what shoe has the least amount available on release date? What shoe was the most limited? No. What shoe did you rock with the most? What shoe did you love the most? Like, all encompassing when it comes to rollout, when it comes to fucking, storytelling, when it comes to application, when it comes to comfortability, when it comes to versatility. And I think you should also get, in my opinion, you should get bonus points for sneaker of the year if it's a model that isn't baked, that isn't being rinsed at the moment. That's why I was pushing for big up John Geiger's shoe to be sneaker of the year, that GF001, because in my opinion, it was a unique, it was a new shape, new silhouette. It wasn't a baked shoe, and it was something outside of the traditional kind of big sportswear brands that were doing something. So that would have been a great shoe to put in your top 10 of sneaker of the year, because it kind of, goes against the grain and isn't the obvious choice. But a lot of these people, Matthew Welty and complex people involved, they're a little bit basic in their taste. You know what I mean? As long as it's limited, as long as it's rare, they're going to put it in the list. Whereas for me, like, I would much rather put this shoe in the sneaker of the year list than a Nike Air Max 95 Big Bubble, That's how I would go about doing things. But I guess everyone's kind of different. So for whatever reason, this particular shoe kind of got Matthew Welty all up in his feelings, got his knickers in a twist, and now he's on social kind of crying about it. And he decided to post something else to kind of clarify his position. I've got the tweet somewhere here. There you go. He says, say you don't like a shoe. You're called a hater. Say you like it. People use your words to push an agenda to get their shoe accolades. I miss the days when someone would make a shoe, drop it, then move on to the next, instead of telling everyone about it for the next 9 months. That's kind of dumb to say, though, when you're a part of a podcast that all you do is talk about shoes. before they drop, after they drop, ad nauseum. That's why people like your show. Like telling people that they can't talk about a show, can't talk about a shoe they designed, or they can't campaign for it to be Sneaker of the Year is kind of idiotic. I don't think Sneaker of the Year is going to help with their sales. I'm not going to lie. So it's not like they're doing it for monetary gain, because by the time Sneaker of the Year, show comes out, the shoe's already long gone. I don't know. Maybe it's going to add to this myth. Maybe it's going to add to its fucking appeal. I don't think so. It's the case. But it's just, if you're proud of your work and you're this brand Unheard Of, and you think you've dropped a cool shoe, of course you're going to want one of the most popular podcasts out there for sneakers to talk about it. And unfortunately, these guys don't talk about things unless they're like in the news and bait. So maybe the fact that this guy is maybe pushing for Matthew Welty to have an opinion and so maybe opine about it is actually going to positively help the shoe in the long run. But I don't think there's anything wrong with it, personally. I don't think there's anything wrong with the owner of Unheard Of being very confident of what he's created and wanting everyone to talk about it. There's nothing wrong with it whatsoever. And the shoe's fucking hard. Look at the bottom. It's got this fucking gel see-through fucking icy sole. Like, it's fucking cool. It's fucking fresh. No one's doing this anymore. No one's doing these bright pink shoes anymore at all. Or colors in general. Like, when's the last time you seen anybody walking down the street in bright pink shoes, That wasn't some girl wearing like pink fucking Metcon ones or something. That's a pretty hard shoe. So it's unfortunate that Matthew Welty got so in his feelings regarding this. But again, like I said, he might be one of the most unlikable people when it comes to sneaker opinions in general. There's something about the way he speaks about certain things, his lack of real opinion when it comes to shoes, his fucking fandom and love for Adidas and New Balance, no matter what they fucking make. God forbid if fucking, what's his name? Action Bronson gets on the show and wants to promote another one of his fucking mediocre New Balance shoes. They're going to talk about that for fucking hours. But if this guy wants to push or promote his shoe, all of a sudden it's an issue. All of a sudden he's acting as if Unheard Of brand is stalking him or something. And he's really getting his knickers in a twist. It's really fucking weird. It really, really, really is fucking strange. But salute Unheard Of brand. I love what they're doing. I love what they said about the shoe. I think they're pushing it really well. And I think it should be included in Sneaker of the Year for me. At least now anyway. We're only in May, by the way. Many, many shoes are to drop by the end of the year. But I do think it's quite refreshing that he's saying what he's saying. And also trolling Matthew Welty a little bit with some of these memes and shit. I fucking love it. Honestly love it. So big up Unheard Of brand. And I guess big up Matthew Welty to some extent. I guess big up Matthew Welty to some extent. Continuing on. Yo, big up Bobby Shmurda, man. Big up Bobby Shmurda. I feel really bad for Bobby Shmurda, but this is super, super, super funny. So this has been all over my timeline. It said Bobby Shmurda cancels his tour amid low ticket sales. Booking agent claims only 10 tickets were sold per city. 10 tickets were sold per city. Fucking hell. Rapper Bobby Shmurda has cancelled his 2025 Still Alive tour just a week before it was set to begin, citing internal disputes, poor promotion. The announcement via his Instagram, where Brooklyn star Native Sorry apologized to fans, said he's taking full responsibility while also blasting his booking agent Philip Stengel of HEIL Touring. Fucking wild. 10 tickets sold per city. Now, when I initially saw this news, it was kind of funny. But when you think about it, and you think of the last time you heard of Bobby Shmurda on the timeline trending for music, it makes sense. And if you think about it a bit deeply, 10 people paid full price for a ticket to see him in a club somewhere in whatever 7 cities, let's say, across the states. I think that's still a lot. I think it's probably more than he probably deserves at the moment because he's not really been putting out a lot of music. Because one thing that I remember when I was putting on events, one of the real sobering moments is when you realize how difficult it is, how hard it is to sell tickets. It's so difficult to get people to buy tickets to go and see you in real life. It's one thing to do things online. It's one thing to do things on streams or whatever, digitally. But it's a whole nother thing to get people to pay for tickets and to come and see you at your show. I've even run into problems where I've done well in terms of ticket sales, come close to selling out for a rave or whatever, or an event I was putting on. And then on the day, people don't turn up. That's another hellhole. That's another fucking nightmare. Where you sell a good amount of tickets pre-sale, before the event happens. But then when the event happens, for whatever reason, half of the people don't show up that bought tickets. Brutal. So as bad as this is, I actually do think it's decent given the fact that Bobby Shmurda, for whatever reason, once he bust case, once he got released from that sentence, he didn't really seem like he had any really focus on music. I know a lot of his issues come down with his label. Part of the reason why he hasn't been putting out a lot of music was because of his, because, you know, as soon as that one track went viral for him, he quickly got locked up after that in that big Rico, that GS9 Rico thing. So he couldn't really capitalize on a lot of his success. But you would imagine because he was fighting that case, he probably signed a deal, he signed papers he probably never should have signed out of desperation, because he probably needed to get hold of funds to fight the case, blah, 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 blah. So he's probably tied up in a deal that is pretty shitty right now. So once he got released and he realized how shitty it was, instead of fighting for that, instead of fighting to get out of that, fighting to fix it, he just went an alternate route. And the alternate route he went down was being like an influencer person, where he would do appearances, where he would do content online. And I think that's what was paying his bills for the most part. But I'd assume that's also probably slowing down a little bit, which may explain why he went back to music. Or maybe he just got bored and he wants to do music. But now the music thing has slowed down a lot and people don't really looking for music. Like, people look at Bobby Shmurda more as like a fun dude to follow on social media because he's always kind of bubbly and shit. But you don't really go to him for the music. So it's going to be hard for him to build that up because he essentially has to build up from scratch. It's almost like he's coming into the industry like a new artist again, you know? It's kind of wild. But the other thing I was really sad about him for was that I think it's really unfair that he seems to be the only artist I've seen who's cancelled a tour because of low ticket sales, and it's actually been clearly said it's low ticket sales. A lot of artists lie and, you know, say it's because of personal issues or scheduling issues, schedule conflicts, or da-da-da-da. But I've never heard of an artist, when they cancel a show, somebody says specifically that they sold 10 tickets, you know? Like, and it's a ticket issue. It's nothing else, it's a ticket issue. Like, it's a bit unfair because I think a lot of artists are going through what Bobby Shmurda's going through, maybe worse, but they're not getting embarrassed or exposed this way. So that's the only unfair part of this I see. And then Bobby Shmurda decided to clear it up and speak a bit more openly about what happened. He posted on his Instagram the following caption: "Hey to all my fans, I apologize for the tour being cancelled. I take full responsibility. I have to go through lawsuits with these guys." He adds them and that I signed to, that I work at, that I knew better to do business with. Let this be a lesson to all business owners and affiliates. Don't leave nothing in no one's hands. Don't matter how much you gotta work. Nobody's gotta treat your work like it's you, except you got a top pause. Don't expert. But that happens once in a blue moon. Because you have money doesn't make you a boss anyways. I apologize again to all my fans. I might have to go through some lawsuits and lawyer fees, money, aka the industry most wanted. Ain't nothing new. I've been fighting. Again, he's allergic to fucking periods and commas and full stops, but you get the gist. He's essentially accusing his booking agent, team, whatever, for the reason why his tour didn't sell out, which is a real bad move, to be honest. Or for why he didn't sell more tickets or why it got cancelled. It's a really, really bad move. So in the caption, in the screenshot of the iMessage, it's got him DMing Philip Stegall in a group chat. He says, when they log in, you have to tell them it's two separate pages, one for Facebook, one other one's for Instagram ads. Philip Stegall says to Bobby Shmurda, "Hey bitch, let me know if you need to book the mailing address to sue me. And anytime we can run the fucking fade, ain't no bitch here. You ain't got to talk to me like you have been." Whoa. Philip Stengel is talking crazy to fucking Bobby Shmurda, who went, like, he's an actual gangster, you know what I mean? Who did some pretty, you know, interesting things to people back in the day, allegedly. Rotted. Another person in the group chat says, "Tempera flared and things were said from both sides. Call it even as men and let's follow through with what we started. In this business, we have moments that aren't too pretty at times. No need to sue or stop any tour because men had an argument. It happened." So Guap is trying to settle it so they don't beef, but it looks like Philip Stengel wanted to run the fade with Bobby Shmurda. In another screenshot, Guap says, "Phil, it's frustrating to go through weeks of emails and calls trying to make sure tour is being promoted correctly and have everyone act like they're spending money on marketing. to find out they're not. It's tough to be lied to. People don't know about the tour, so we need to figure out how to change that. Philip replies and says, I plan on pulling ad request receipts to prove the marketing that they've done behind it, depending on how their ads is set up, as depending on what they're gonna see. Maybe I'm mistaken, but I don't think you can sell out a tour based on Facebook ads. That era is gone. I remember I used to do that. I remember you could get somewhere by putting $100 into an ad spend, maybe sometimes even $50, $10 to get your thing seen and promoted in certain places. But I don't think putting money in Instagram ads and Facebook ads is really going to sell your event. You're better off just doing stuff in hand. You're better off just doing loads of things at once. Instagram ads, shilling and talking about your tour on your streams, on your feed, on your stories all the fucking time, promoting your show on the radio, other people's channels, going on people's podcasts, handing out fucking flyers in real life, all that sort of shit. Like, that's the way you're going to sell a show. You don't sell it just from just advertising on Facebook and Instagram. It doesn't work that way. But I could be mistaken. Another screenshot is from Philip Stiegel. He says, hey, Bobby, just want to apologize for the shit said yesterday. I lost my cool about the whole thing. I know it's stressful on you and all of us. Bobby Shmurda replies, same here. Yeah, they haven't run their phase right. They haven't run their ads right, sorry. Guap replies and says, we're already on the phone with 2 promoters, figuring out this morn. Had got off the phone with 2 of them already. You were right about that. Philip Stengel replies, says, most have been not belt has been get put to ask all morning. And then next screenshot, don't blame a clown for acting like a clown. So basically, in Bobby Shmurda's eyes, he's blaming solely the booking agent, who is this Philip Stengel guy, which I think is unfair. I don't really know much about the business behind the scenes, what's going on personally between them, but I don't think it's all one person's fault. I think everybody contributed to this show or this tour failing. Primarily, I think it's definitely on Bobby Shmurda, because since he's come out of prison, he's not really been focusing on music. So it's kind of strange to go on a tour in the first place. Like, why is Bobby Shmurda even going on a tour? Why are you trying to put a tour? It makes no sense. If anything, he should be trying to rebuild himself as an artist, get some motion, get some clout, get some attention, get some eyes back on him. And then as that kind of grows and progresses over time, he can then decide to go on tour again. But I think going on tour, because it feels like he's trying to go on tour based on his fame, based on his notoriety, based on his clout that he has now as a kind of Instagram social media influencer person. That's not enough. You're better off doing it the music way and kind of going back to the music and building up that way. But I don't think he has enough fans. And, you know, most people are just probably casually browsing, but I don't think they're going to be the same people that watch his videos where he does like skits and stuff, or he goes to do cover appearances, aren't the same people that are going to be buying tickets to his shows, you know? Not really. Those are his music fans, but he doesn't really service them because, you know, he's more focused on doing the whole social media shit. So I think he has a sort of blame. But then Philip Stengel clapped back. Philip Stengel clapped back and he said the following. The caption says, full transparency. The tour was cancelled due to an average of 10 tickets sold per show, not a lack of promotion. We ran ads. We have receipts. This wasn't about effort. It was about demand. Sometimes artists lash out publicly. That's emotion. We deal in data. We wish Bobby Shmurda best of luck on the club circuit, which is pretty crazy, by the way. Pretty crazy insult to end it with. We wish you best of luck on the club circuit. But the truth is, he probably should have been on the club circuit. Bobby Shmurda has no reason, no justification whatsoever to be doing a tour like in arenas or whatever, or bigger venues than the club. He has, or venues bigger than the club. He has no reason for it, especially now. He needs to build himself up slowly, similar to what JT sort of did when she was first split up from the fucking City Girls. But in Bobby Shmurda's case, he's got even a higher, a steeper mountain to climb, because like I said, post him getting out from jail or being released from jail, he hasn't really been focused on music. So it's a hard one to even push. Like, what are you pushing if you haven't been, you know what I mean? It doesn't make no sense. So the actual post, courtesy of Philip Stengel, the booking agent says, let's be clear, the tour was cancelled because of average ticket sales across the markets were 10 per city. That's not viable under any circumstances, no matter the artist or budget. Bobby Shmurda chose to publicly vent rather than acknowledge the performance metrics. This frustration is understood, but the numbers don't lie. The problem wasn't promotion, it was demand. The industry isn't about emotion, it's about execution. If 10 people are buying tickets, there's no show, period. This post was a distraction. The facts are the facts. So yeah, Philip Stengel's being a bit of a cock. He's being a bit of a cunt. He's, you know, he's kind of sticking the boot in, but they've also got a bit of tension between them, so you can understand why he's trying to be a little bit, combative about this whole thing. But Bobby Shmurda only to have himself to blame. He only has himself to blame. I don't think he should have been in a position to ever put a tour together. He's got a long way to build up before a tour is a viable option for him. And it also goes to show just how difficult it is to sell tickets. It's really hard to sell tickets nowadays. It's super difficult to get people, because that's what I said before, like, the people that bought the tickets, it's not even a guarantee they're going to turn up for the show, And you kind of want them to be there for the show, for the optics and for the pictures and shit, because that then helps you to get more offers for more shows, or even budget for bigger shows, or whatever it maybe is. So it all kind of, works in tandem, but if there's no demand there for you, it's not going to fucking work. But anyway, wish Bobby Shmurda the best of luck. I think it's unfortunate that he's the only one who's had his numbers blasted all over social. He doesn't really deserve that. I think a lot of people are also struggling to sell tickets. They don't have their numbers blasted all over the place. He does. Maybe because of his level of artistry. Who fucking knows? Either way, Godspeed to Bobby Shmurda. Godspeed to Blood Clot Bobby Shmurda. Oh, he do he. Big up everything in the stream chat. We're gonna end it right there. I appreciate everyone for joining in. That's been nearly, 2 hours? 2 hours 30 of the Echo Zinga Show, episode number 902. We're going to save the rest for later. Thank you for tuning in. It's been a pleasure, not a chore, to hang out with you once again. If it's your first time, check out the show. Make sure you smash the like button down below. Hit subscribe. All that good shit that we much appreciate. For those of you tuning into the show via the podcast app, you'll be listening to my tune of the day. My tune of the day is courtesy of the wonderful, the beautiful, the extravagant, let me get it up on here, Erika the Casier. It's a new album called Lifetime. One of my favorite tracks from this album that I've just listened to is called You Got It. So check out Eric the Casier, You Got It. The album is called Lifetime. That'll be my song of the day, playing out as an outro for this particular podcast. Thank you for tuning in. It's been a pleasure, never a chore. I appreciate every of you who are tuning in today. And again, remember, this is day 2 of the marathon stream that we're doing for 31 days. So if you want to be a member, the link to be a member of this particular channel is down below. Become a member. Help me get to 500 members by the end of the month. That'd be greatly appreciated. And I'll see the rest of you guys later for another Tazz and another random show later on tonight. But for now, take care. Be safe, people. And I'll see you guys again very, very soon. Peace.